I was going to say at some point, hold.
All right. Tanner. What's going on, Tanner?
What's up, dude?
Tanner's an interesting name.
Yeah, it's, I actually don't know the story of why I'm named Tanner, but I do have some guesses. And I know that my mom was a big fan of that original movie from like the 70s, Bad News Bears. Like a baseball movie.
They remade that in
They did with Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah. Yeah, and the guy from, the actor from Napoleon Dynamite.
John Heater.
Whoever played Napoleon Dynamite.
Really?
I think he was
I
in
didn't know
it.
he was in that.
I think. I
I'd
could be
have to
wrong.
rewatch.
It's been a while since I saw my Bad News Bears.
Yeah. So there's Tanner Boyle was in that movie. And yeah, so I don't think I'm named after him. I don't think I should be named after him, actually. I think he was like a problematic character, but also just like a goofy little baseball playing blonde hair kid. So it kind of
Is it short for something? Is that short for Nathaniel?
Tanner?
Yeah.
No, just
Oh,
straight up.
I had a cousin named Nathaniel, and we called him Tanner. So I didn't know if that was short for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I've never heard that before.
I don't know why. It's kind of like Peggy being short for Margaret, Tanner being short for Nathaniel. You're kind of like, I don't know. Doesn't really make any sense, but I guess you could have it.
You're making me question if
You know, Bob being short for Robert. You're like,
I'm
it's
going
a
to see
stretch.
my birth certificate now.
Are
Wait,
you from
Not that I know.
Chicago land area?
I'm from the area, so I grew up in a suburb called Elgin.
I know Elgin.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I had family out there. I've been to their orchestra a bunch of times. My friend
Oh, ESL.
plays for the orchestra there. And so I've been there a bunch of times.
Cool.
Whatever that big square building is in Elgin.
The Hemmons.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Elgin always reminds me of going, like you're going to a medium town in like the 70s.
That's a pretty fair description.
It has a lot.
I think
It's
they
like
want that too.
it's like a town that like, it felt like it developed and grew, but like in that era, like architecturally speaking. And
It stayed there.
It kind of stayed, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of cities like that too. I'm not like
Totally.
making fun of it. It's just,
Oh, yeah,
it
yeah.
just, that's what it reminds
Also,
me
you're
of.
allowed to make fun of it if you want. It's not, no. I thought it was a cool place to grow up, but also, it's like I'm glad that the burbs have come up a lot lately and like friend groups and stuff. And, I feel like now.
Come
you
up like
reach-
in respect or come up like in, what do you mean?
Good
like,
question. No, like it comes up where you reach an age and you're like, people just that promised they would never go back to the burbs or something, like now they're floating back to the burbs and they're doing the classic starting the family or
That's what you do. That's what the verbs are for.
yeah. And
It's for people that don't want to deal with the chaos of the city and the intensity of it, possibly higher rates of crime, but they also don't want to deal with how tough you have to be to live in the middle of nowhere, which is
Yes.
actually harder than living. It's the hardest place to live.
Totally.
So what do? You go to the suburbs.
Yeah, the happy medium.
Yeah, you got your space, you got your safety, you got your yard. Yeah, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in all three, heavily, lived in all three, vacationed in all three. I like all three for different reasons. Mm-hmm. I grew up
You've
in
lived
the
in like a super rural area?
so like where my parents live now in Indiana, I grew up going there because it was my grandparents' old little house that they had when they retired. And my grandparents built the house I used to live in, the one you played the first in, right? So then when they retired in the 70s, they got a little tiny like mobile home in Florida and then had this little tiny summer home in Winona Lake, Indiana. But it's not fancy. It's really small. And then my mom and dad literally did the same thing, 40 years later, retired. Now they have that little tiny house in, it's Warsaw, Indiana. But it's really rural area, and all my uncles live in that area, and it's really rural. So my mom's side of the family, anything we did, I did forests, lakes, rural, farmland, middle of nowhere, big bonfires, no rules. And then everything my dad's side is in the city. It's all city. It's all hanging out in the alleys, at the parks, playing soccer, city stuff. So doing both sides my whole life. My dad's from the city. My mom was always further, more rural. And then living in the suburbs. And then now I live in the city, and I go to ISU, which is in the rural area, every Tuesday and Thursday for work. So they just it's actually trippy going from Chicago to Bloomington every Tuesday and Thursday. It could vary 20 degrees. Like today,
I bet.
it's 75 degrees down there and it's 55 here. So it's a 20-degree
crushing.
difference. So today's a Thursday. I would normally be here today. So I would have to dress a certain way when I leave, know that I'm going to be kind of cold in the morning, but I'll get hot when I get there, then be hot there, and then know when I get home and open my door, I'm going to be like freezing again. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. different climates just in one day for work. So it like trips you out.
Totally.
Yeah.
And you're probably, what is the drive? 2 hours?
2 hours. It varies, an hour 50 to 210 depending on traffic and the chaos
Yeah.
of I-55 leaving Chicago is
Totally.
just wild.
Yeah, we went down to, not that this is, that's a normal.
It's in Bloomington normal, yeah.
So we didn't go nearly as far as that, but we even went to Joliet the other week to be on like, did you know that there's an Illinois Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Joliet?
I did. It's at a museum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've worked at that before.
You have?
I recorded a band that was playing that event.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've done a bunch of random work in Joliet. Yeah.
That's okay. Also, you asked me if I've ever been on a podcast before. I was like, well, I've been on my roommates, and that's just, I swear there's one. That was what I was talking about. We were on they do like something with the Illinois Rock and Roll Hall of Fame podcast.
Are you in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? How do you get in it?
Yeah, no, I don't know. Don't ask us. We've been flubbed 10 years in the works, but we went on a podcast down there. And, but anyways, getting down to Joliet, we left Chicago. Terrible time to leave. It was probably like 4:45 when we left.
Why would you do that?
I know. And we got
Amateur
like 15 minutes totally. We should have just left at like 6 p.m. or something because it basically took the same amount of time. Getting to Joliet, it should probably take like less than an hour in good traffic.
Yeah.
It took us like 2 hours and 20 minutes to get there. And
You left at the wrong time.
I know. It was brutal. So
The key to it is, what time was like, did you have to be there? They said it'd be there.
I think they wanted us there at 6 or something. So we left at 4:45. We were supposed to be there at 6. And it was like nearly 7, if not after 7 when we got there. So it was crazy.
This is where you get on your phone, you look up, you find the best coffee shop in Joliet, you bring your laptop and headphones, and you go there at noon. And you just leave super early, get there in 40 minutes, and then just work from a coffee shop and let all the stuff pass you by. That's what I do every time I go anywhere. I just leave way ahead of time. If I have to babysit my niece at the wrong time, I'm not dealing with Chicago traffic. I will go early, sit somewhere. And it's the same thing. If I could work there, I could work here. It's all the same.
True. No, I love remote work. Yeah.
So
COVID
for anybody
changed the
who
game.
needs some advice, do that to circumvent traffic. Just go ahead of time.
Does
Get
that
there
mean you
fast.
show up early to the airport?
No. So the airport's one of the worst.
Interesting.
My rule with airports is the same with the movie theater. Now that I have assigned everything, I can get there last minute and I still get what I want.
Wow.
So
you
I
don't have a horror story of missing. your
I've never
flight?
missed anything, and I have been the last person. I think the last 6 airfares I took, airplanes I went on, I was the last person in.
Oh yeah. Everyone sitting down loves that person.
Well, I wasn't late. I still made it. They said, okay, the gate and the door closes at 7:30. I'm there at 7:28. So they're not going to leave anyway.
True.
It's permanent. It's a permanent seating, and they're going to wait for you, and then boom, you get on. It's really fun. And I kind of like running through O'Hare Airport, like, Home Alone.
Yeah.
I've had to do it last year when I was going on vacation with my girlfriend. It was so funny. Her parents were freaking out because they were like, they were waiting on the airplane for us, and we're so late.
Oh.
And we're going we're going across the ocean. Like we're going far. We do not want to mess this up.
Oh, cool.
And we were so late. We were not late, but like the last one's on an international, like 300 person.
Yeah.
Like walking down the aisle past, everyone's ready to go. We're about to take
I'm
off.
stressed just listening to that. I'm an airport dad, as they call it, where it's just like everyone has to be on my schedule, and it's early, and like if you don't have a water, that's too bad because we're not stopping to pay airport prices. Like, I get pretty.
I'm like the opposite.
I love that for you. I hope to be that soon because I don't want to be the airport dad.
Am I not wrong though? Like you bought the ticket, your name's on everything. They're going to leave when they're not going to close the gate earlier. They're just not going to do that. If anything, they'll close it later. They're not closing it earlier. So like,
Yeah. Are they not though? Like, aren't there stories of just like people on planes who have the flight and then they get called up to the kiosk last minute and they're like, sorry, like we actually overbooked. You're gonna have to be on the next
that
flight.
happens, but I feel like that is just random. I feel like I don't know why they do that. That seems like a really bad idea, but they do it. It's happened to my mom and dad once. They got a free flight and hotel stay when we were coming back from Dallas, Texas, when I was a kid. And they said the same, exactly what you said. Sorry, like it's filled. Like your son can go, but like or they
That
said
is some Home Alone right there.
It was. They said you don't have to not go, but we highly suggest you don't. We'll give you free flight and a hotel stay if you stay.
Yeah.
So they didn't say you have to stay, but they're pleased. Like, they're overcompensating them to stay.
Totally.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just I like stress. I think it's stressful to like.
You like stress. Got it. Cool.
I don't like it. It doesn't bother me. How about that?
That's a really good superhuman trait to have, dude.
It don't feel it. It's a problem. It's a problem, especially when
The
flying.
tea probably helps.
Tea, coffee. If you have coffee and like I don't know, coffee and like any nicotine, if it's one of those pouches or cigar or cigarette, just anything.
Some Zyn.
And coffee, Zyn. It doesn't matter. Any nicotine and coffee.
amazing.
I feel like I'm doing like methamphetamine or something. It's so. I mean, I don't know what that feels like, but it feels so strong.
Not on this podcast, you don't.
No, never done meth. Never done meth. But I mean, if it's close to Adderall, I guess I've never really done that either. So I wouldn't know.
Yeah, same. That's crazy.
No. Yeah, I don't even know how we're talking about this. We barely talked about you. Let's talk more. So you're from Elgin.
Yeah, I'm from Elgin. Yeah.
And when did you come to Chicago? Obviously, you went here when you were a kid and stuff, but like when did you leave Elgin?
I did the classic. There's like a strong suburbs to Chicago pipeline after school, it seems like. So I went to school kind of near normal. I went to school in the smack dab middle of the state in Champaign.
You went to U of I?
Went to U of I, and after that, I came back that
What'd you
summer.
study there?
Political science.
Oh,
So yeah, I had like an interesting.
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, dude. Duh.
For those listening, I'm shaking my head. What? I mean, I only know he was a musician. You're like, oh, he's actually a politician. He's running for mayor, 2020, whatever.
That's right.
That's cool.
No, I
Political
wouldn't
science.
wish that upon anyone.
What brought you
not
to
in this town.
political science? Like,
Well, honestly, it had more to do with like I didn't really know what I wanted to do, professionally speaking. And I think it's just like a lot of majors, I've realized you gravitate towards the subjects that you tend to tolerate better. If not, like maybe you don't even like them, but you tolerate them better. So I was always a reader and a writer. When I say reader, that means more so what we had to read. You know, I wasn't necessarily reading a bunch of books on my own by any means. I should have been. But yeah, I loved, like, writing papers was my jam. I could not do math, hated science. So I just sort of like went that route because that's really what political science is. It's a people, you know, it's like less douchey salesman roles almost of like you're talking to people, but you're talking about meaningful subjects ideally, and like you're problem solving, and you're like, and then when it comes to school, the coursework of it all, it's you know, you're not, there's just no math and science, I think was my thing. So I didn't
so then
mind.
what's the science in political science if it's no science?
Well, yeah, it's confusing, right? Who knows?
Or did they just put that in there to feel more important?
I think that's why. Yeah. It's human sciences at that point. It's like the speaking and interacting and like the
humanity.
cultural phenomenon of
It's
science.
Be part of the humanities?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, I think there was a world where I, you know, and especially later in college, I was going like the law school route. Like I was prepping for the LSAT and like doing all the, basically, and you do history and you do political science pretty frequently. That's like a huge pipeline into law school. But I kind of knew I didn't really want to do that. I was raised a bunch of like a lot of my neighbors that were really, really cool, like mentors and the such. They were lawyers and they seemed to have cool lives because they had a balance. And I think you find in college, especially, it's like, man, I just like want to balance when I'm older. Like I want to have fun, and I guess I always also want to like make a living. And it seemed like those people could do both. And then dabbled a little bit more in the world of like prepping for the, you know, what law school looks like. And I remember I went on a trip. I did a couple months my senior year of college in Cape Town, South Africa. And I was around like the coolest people, and even the students that came with me and like in my class at the time, we were like the coolest class. And we had the most amazing experience. And it was pretty like transformative, to be honest, because it was like, that was what clicked for me. I've had a couple click moments in life. And I've done music all my life, definitely. But like college, I almost got away from music for a little bit. And that was a trip that like totally brought things back into perspective for me of like, stop like pretending like you want to do this law school thing. And, you know, it's okay to go out and everyone has to work and you got to get a job and, you know, make ends meet while you're chasing music for sure. But I just realized that law school, I might as well stop pretending to like want to do that. So
what drew you to law school? Like, why was that even an idea? Just the people around you?
Yeah, I think it was like the people that I had in my life that were either in law school or were lawyers at this point, or, you know, and I looked up to them in certain ways. Maybe it wasn't because they were a lawyer, but it's because they were a great human being, seemingly. And so it's just like it was a route that I knew I could get there coursework-wise, and it wasn't going to kill me.
Sure.
Maybe it would, I don't know. But yeah, I just think I'm glad that I came to the realization that like, and this is nothing against law school or lawyers out there. Like, you know, there's even a world. I've seen musicians that like get to whatever age, sometimes like age 40, and they're like, you know, now I'm gonna go back and study again. You know, so like, who's to say? Nothing's off the table, but at least for now. I think you got to be like younger, sprightly to tour and like have that whole world still, because you roll with the punches for sure. So like, I think you got to be. It helps to be a little bit younger to like go tour around. And so I'm
100%, yeah.
so I hear.
I don't know anyone older that's touring unless they make very good money to justify that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, when
It's
you're
so
sleeping
hard.
on your friends. Like
Hopefully it's your
hardwood
friend.
floor.
It's usually someone you've never even met, and their floor has never been cleaned, and you see a mouse running across it, and you know, like, I love it, but you got to have the right constitution for it from the get-go. You know, it's not for everyone. Have you done some touring?
Yeah. Not like nothing crazy by any means. For playing in a band as long as I have, like our tours have been pretty spread out.
And the band is, tell everyone.
Yeah. So I do in two. So I like kind of go full time now under my namesake. So it's just Tanner Dane. And then I played in Hollyy here in Chicago for 6 years. We turned 6 this year. And that I would say, because my project is a little bit more fresh. It's been going for like even less than a year now. But we've done some touring with Hollyy, and we have some more coming up this summer, which we're pretty stoked about.
Where at?
We're doing like a little dip into as far south as Chattanooga, Tennessee. So we've had just like as the context of it all, we have a new strategy on TikTok this year. And all we do is like, I just call it like TikTok band strategy. It's like you get everyone in a frame and you just play snippets of whatever the hook is, whether it's your song or whether it's a cover song. It's just like you really lean in on that and put it out, ship it out. I don't know. It's not much different than anything we've ever done, but like really leaning into like posting as much as we can on that. And that kind of like really had a big spike for us in January. And it led to a bunch of opportunities coming our way, which we had never like had
That's
before.
awesome.
So yeah, we
So
got
just
asked
posting
to,
clips?
just like clips and like really like before we didn't necessarily film ourselves too much. You know, if we had a show, we'd like have a friend come out and hire him to do like a live session or like a live filming of us, or we've done DZ before, you know, things like that, Audio Tree. Like, other than that, we don't really film ourselves in practice. And we were just like, I just remember thinking, I saw this clip of this band, Penelope Road, who really leans into the TikTok era. And they've gotten really successful. I was like, why don't we do that? Every Tuesday or whatever, every Tuesday, Thursday, we practice. Let's just try it out.
Yeah.
And it fortunately had like pretty instant success for us in January of just like the first clip we posted went kind of viral. And we're like,
Really?
okay, I think this is, because that's nice when it's like gratifying. Or
You
like,
did one clip.
we did a new strategy. The first clip we posted went viral.
How many views?
That one was like 300,000.
Damn.
But it was like 300,000 with good engagement too. It was like a couple thousand comments and like
Wow.
I think
one video for jeez, and just of you guys playing.
Yeah, just it was a Brenton Wood cover of a song.
Okay, so that helps.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, it was our song. It's the chorus of ours. No, it was a cover.
But still, I mean, it gets people on you. You got a lot of followers out of it and stuff.
Like definitely on TikTok and like that's what we've leaned into for the last 3 months, and we keep growing on that, and then it comes over to Instagram or like whatever. And the fortunate thing is because I think you want to convert people to the thing that you care about most, which is your music that you've put out.
I was going to
And
say
so
God.
Yeah, dude.
You want to convert them to the thing you care about most. I was like, are we getting religious here?
That's right. That's why I'm glad we segued already. That made it easy. So anyways, no,
You want to get them to, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just saw a good spot for a joke.
it wasn't a joke, dude. No. It's like, what does a TikTok viral video translate to in the world of like if you're an artist putting out music? And so you want to see your numbers on whatever Spotify and Apple Music, like all the streams go up, and fortunately it has too. So it's been like a nice organic flow into our streams.
That's cool. So you saw it all kind of go together. That's awesome. Did you see it affect like Instagram or anything at all?
I mean, we're getting like, I think we've grown a decent amount, but nothing like TikTok's like pretty.
TikTok's crazy.
It just seems easy. Like it really takes one video sometimes, and then boom.
Yeah, I try to post pretty much a clip version of everything I do. So like something from that session, something from this, something from anything a band or a podcast is, I try to post on there. But nothing substantial. Like the most. I mean, 10, like a couple ones have like 10,000 views, like nothing crazy, but it's exactly the ones you would expect to have more views based on the subject matter and who's in it and how they're talking. It's almost a perfect correlation.
Got it.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of like, how would I get? I don't know what. I guess covers do help sometimes more.
Yeah.
They can. I think the most views on my channel are the bands that have done covers, which that tends to be a thing, you know.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
I would, and this is not like, first of all, I'm not someone to give advice on like, here's how you do it. Like, I have no idea. I think we're all figuring it out. It has worked for one of my bands right now, seeming like nothing crazy, but like we're doing better than we've ever done in terms of like a metric.
Sure.
But for me, like my stuff, and I have like a decent amount of pressure on my stuff from the higher ups of the world right now, of like the music industry, to be like, get your TikTok up. And it's just like, man, I'm trying so hard.
Who are the higher ups?
Yeah, just like I love, got a great team behind me, but like this is the first time I've ever done labels. So like I got people from the labels just being like this very stereotypical, like, get your TikTok up. Like basically.
And how does that make you feel? Tell me the truth.
Yeah, I know, right?
How old are you?
I just turned 30.
So you're 30. You're a 30-year-old wise man.
Which is kind of like for them too. They're like, they thought I think they signed me and they thought I was like 22. And then they learned I was like,
They saw that baby face. They're like, oh, he's a young person we can control. He won't ask questions and talk back.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so yeah, they're doing cliche things, just like, you got to get these numbers up.
Yeah. And all I was gonna say about that was like, truly with Hollyy, with our band Hollyy, like we burnt ourselves out almost mentally trying so many different things that just weren't working. And then in January, it's kind of like, all right, everyone chill out. Just like, let's get back to our roots and like sit down and frame and just play shit that we like. Mm-hmm. And it worked. And so I think there is something to the whole, like, the more you try, and obviously you should try, but like the more that you stress over these like crazy articulate ways of like getting yourself perfectly out there and polished on the internet, and like I think that tends to somehow not work as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I'm like trying to do that too now with my project. Is like, how do I try less and yet still, because this is all I do, so it's like every day I feel like the pressure of like, getting something.
Can you sustain that forever?
No,
right? Where do we go with this? Like, you got to get the numbers up. You got to get more Spotify streams, Apple, YouTube plays, Instagram followers, TikTok play, like the X followers, Threads, whatever. There's so many things now. LinkedIn. Are you on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
It is exhausting. I don't see a good end from this. I think it's going to make people go crazy.
Because trying to be optimistic about it, but I agree.
100%. It's not 99. You know, when you say like some things in absolute, it's always said like, okay, 99% of, that's usually how you talk.
Yeah.
In this situation, 100% of every artist, band, creative person I've talked to through sessions, recording the fest, anything ever of the last 5 years since the pandemic has complained, expressed fear, stress, anxiety, worrisome, and annoyance with having to keep up with Joneses on Instagram and Facebook. Every person. Not one person's been like, actually, it's not that bad. It's actually, every single person's been, I know. And then the TikTok, oh my God, Instagram, it's so annoying. I'm so tired of putting my life. Even if they, from when you see them, it's like, oh, they really enjoy this. They're always putting stuff out there. And then you talk to them, they're just like, this sucks. I'm so sick and tired of it. Even if they're successful, they could have 10 times the followers. It's all relative. Because even if you have 1 million, you still got to keep doing it to keep the 1 million. Right. It's actually harder and worse because there's more people bothering you. Yeah. And the comments and the DMs get harsher and worse. So I don't know what we're supposed to do here.
I know.
We can't keep doing this to ourselves.
I agree.
So what do we do?
Yeah, I had a feeling we'd like do some venting about the modern day landscape of the music world.
It's challenging.
And there's the challenge, there's fun parts to the puzzle, I suppose. But yeah, I also agree it's not very sustainable, and something's got to give at some point to like not place so much pressure amongst, whether it's like the artist, the band, the boutique label, or the the marketers of that, or the like everyone from the videographers to the photographers of the industry to like the management teams. Like I don't know, everyone's feeling the heat.
It's rough.
And
yeah, we need a paradigm shift. We need a money flow shift. Live Nation, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
You heard it here
good.
first. And Ticketmaster, you're next.
Off with their heads.
And a lot of other companies of that ilk. But I mean, they're like, you know, the Amazon of the music industry, the Disney of the music industry. They just own everything, and they set the standard for everything. And they're going to chew up small labels and small event promoters and small events and small ticket, you know, pricing companies. Like everything about anything small is just destroyed by Live Nation. They have been since 2010 when I think it was 2010 they bought Ticketmaster. I remember in the old days when I used to go buy tickets at the Ticketmaster at the Carsons at Chicago Ridge Mall on 95th Street in Ridgeland. Yeah, I'd go to that Carsons and, you know, go buy a ticket like $30 and you know, cheaper tickets were cheap back then. You can go to like the Aragon or the Riviera to see a big band. It's like $28, you know?
I know.
It was awesome. And it was just to Ticketmaster and it was like its own thing. It's kind of problematic when a event promotion company also owns the ticketing and the venues and the merch. Like it's kind of a problem.
You see that as a problem?
When you own every part of it, that's not a good look. Yeah. So, I'm coming for them. We're going to take them down. I give it 8 years and they're gone.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
You heard it here first.
I believe it. Yeah, I mean, strength in numbers, I suppose.
They have strength in numbers. Billions. That's what their strength is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like not joking, but obviously I don't know if I could take them down. But I'm serious. I mean, I would like to disperse those kind of companies. Yeah. Break up the monopolies. Yeah.
That's a very valiant cause to go after, and it helps
if I make
us.
So they might whack me before then. I might not make it.
I know that's like, yeah. We could talk about. There's been some whistleblowers lately that are falling off the face of the earth. So I'd hate to see you wind up as the whistleblower to.
I can't be much of a whistleblower because I'd never worked in any of these companies. So like I only know what's obvious, like what we can just see right in front of you, and you know you could read a lot on the internet, but. If I worked for them, I wouldn't be able to. I would have quit the first day. Like I would never gotten hired to begin with. So. Yeah. But anyway, back to Hollyy. Back to playing music. So the pressures of being told they're telling you like in a cliche way, like get up some numbers, promote more. Yeah. Was that a reason why you started doing the TikTok thing, or was that before they asked for you to start promoting more?
Well,
or was it like in response to them, like, oh, here's an idea we can kind of.
Yeah.
They've been asking for it, so let's try this.
Totally. Well, it's interesting because I'm kind of running like my own A/B test right now with my projects because like we're only like Hollyy is an unsigned band. We do everything ourselves. We're very much like the epitome of a independent band, everything. And then in my new project, like I feel like I have a team that's bigger than it even needs to be, really, because it's like we haven't really even started with I go out and I gig all the time, but for the most part I'm not even using a full band when I do that. I'm kind of more or less just playing these like singer-songwriter opening slots, or you know I just got off a tour like all over the Midwest where I was playing like in the rounds kind of nights and like very acoustic, you know, straight up solo, like the grunt work of the Midwest, you know. And yeah, the pressure that I feel like really just comes from my project because it's like that's what I got signed on, and they're trying to get me to like raise it up as like just myself before I suppose the powers of the large label marketing comes in at some point theoretically, or you know, and I even have an album that's like pretty much done. Well, it is done, and that was a thing that I got signed on, but until like these socials reach like a level of arbitrary success, that thing won't come out, you know? So it's like...
It won't come out?
Right. So...
Wait, can you walk the listeners through how did you get signed? Like, how did that look? So you have an album that's now not out yet, but you got signed.
Right.
So how does that work? If you have no music to show them, how do you get signed?
Well, I guess kind of the way that... it's kind of old school, the way that we went about it. So I've been playing with Hollyy for a while, and I've sort of made connections through just playing in that band. And then I was making some stuff separately of Hollyy, like sonic-wise. And I was just like making it all myself. And I just happened to send it to a friend who was starting up like a label in town and took a liking to it and got me in the studio with some of his producer friends. And like 3 songs we were supposed to do led to 3 more, led to 3 more. Next thing we knew, we had 12 songs. And after the 6th song was done, one of like my friends' partners in the label, like I think they made this realization, which was very like heartwarming for me and a pleasure to hear. But it was just like, yeah, this is bigger than our boutique label kind of thing. Like, let's go shop this thing around. And they've been around for a while, so they know how it works and they have the connections themselves. And so it was a very old school showcase kind of vibe, like fly in the guy, play a set, play the songs. We did it at Dorian's in Wicker Park. It's like a through the record shop kind of vibe. And it was such a fun night. And so it was like an old school showcase for a label executive. See if he likes it. If he likes it, you sign. You know, it wasn't like a sign on the spot kind of thing. It was like they make you wait it out. And
What label is this?
they're called AWOL.
AWOL. Interesting.
Yeah.
And is just like executive sits there and goes, let me decide your future, young man.
Yes, a little bit of that.
We can make you a big star.
I know.
What's his background? What gives him the right? A lot of money, a lot of zeros in the bank.
Yeah. Oh, he was a very, very cool dude.
I always wondered that. Someone's sitting there going like a cat, like the casting couch. Just like, no, yes, yay or nay, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's kind of trippy, huh? That's kind of must have been nerve-wracking.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I didn't really have much nerves about it at the time. I kind of black out with those things in life, which I suppose is a strategy. But yeah, whatever big show it is or like whatever thing, like I've never done something like that before. So I guess theoretically that was the most important thing I've ever done.
And it worked?
At the time. Well, it worked, but also did it because the album's not out yet.
When did this happen?
This was last March, so over a year ago.
Any NDAs you had to sign?
Yeah, actually, we're gonna have to edit this. No, I've never signed an NDA for that. But I will say, like, and at this point, I don't think it's necessarily anyone's gonna be upset with me for just being honest about this. I think this is a thing that happens more than people realize in the musical landscape. Of like, you get signed, and then it's not like you get shelved, but you have all kinds of like pressure put upon you without a lot of help. And so it's just up to you to go figure it out so that you
That's a newer thing.
I think so.
They used to have a whole bunch of people do everything you do now. You took on the roles for those people.
Right.
The marketing, publicity, booking, talent, buying, like all of it, you now just do.
Totally.
And the label used to do that. That's what they were there for. They were this entity that had all the connections, had every T, crossed and every I dotted. And now you as the musician are doing 90. Now you do like the 9 jobs and they do 1 job for you.
Right.
They front some money. They're essentially a bank.
Exactly.
They're just a bank.
Yeah.
They're just letting you get a house for a second there. And you got to pay it back, by the way.
Totally.
So it's like, yeah, not to talk, low of them, but that's what's going on. So It doesn't make any sense that they still want you to do all that stuff too,
Yeah, I work with people who are, I know that they only want the best for me.
Sure.
So it's not like they're not investing their time and their resources into it. But at the same time, exactly what you said is like, they all know that 10 years ago, this didn't exist. And what I did, which was like, sign the dotted line and with a record label is like, then I would have been put into a machine that like I get marketing help and I get like production help and you go out on tours with probably larger bands because you have the tour agency connections. But now it's like, they actually don't want you to be so much as an industry plant. They want you to like build it up organically, and who knows how long that can take. And so it's just like, if you're only doing that and doing it full time and like you have to start almost from scratch, it's not the easiest thing in the world, despite you being able to be like, yeah, I got a record deal. Like, what does that mean?
When would you come out with the album? Would it have come out already?
There's certainly no time frame for it. It really is just like, it's kind of sitting in the limbo of like, do everything you can to like get yourself bigger, basically through socials or through your own shows. And then theoretically there's like a click moment of like, hey, the last 3 videos I've posted are like popping off and it's got like my current music out to like really like this, the numbers are up. Let's take advantage of this moment. Let's start putting out this album that we have ready to go.
Do you have singles out then?
I do. I have an EP out.
Okay, so you have something, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, for a second, I was like, wait, because you didn't mention that. So I was like, is it just this album that no one's heard yet and there's nothing else? I was just trying to understand that.
Right.
So you have some music out. People can hear it. and then you have this album you're sitting on. Do you have like any idea? Like sometimes this year, maybe?
Well,
Or it's hard to say.
yeah, it is hard to say at this
Okay,
point.
I was just
This
wondering.
time, like, even I'd say like October, I started to put out some separate tunes to just get music out there for me. And if you would ask me in October, I'd be like, yeah, dude, like by like February, I'm gonna have my album out. And now I'm just like, there's no longer this idea of like, well, it'll be this year. I really don't know when it's gonna be, and I'm almost just like I'm leaning into the who knows? Like I'm gonna basically make more music like I've made recently, like a whole new EP.
Okay.
And I think I'm gonna start to put that out kind of this summer.
Are you allowed to put out more music?
Yeah.
It just can't be the ones you made through them.
Right.
But it could be anything else. Okay.
Yeah. I can, there might be like some loops, but for the most part, I can make and put out as much as I want. And so that's what I'm gonna do. And it's like, I might as well. I'm still writing music. I love like content creation for it all, or like thinking of how to make videos and like how to. So there's so much of that to be made. So
Yeah.
I'll just do that.
Plenty of things to do. Okay. Interesting. Man, I don't think I've heard this from many people about like having like an album shelved until their numbers get to a certain, like,
Yeah.
this is a newer thing, you know?
And
That probably used to happen, but under different circumstances. Like they would shelve someone's album if they were trying to promote a different, like they were focusing on certain bands at a time at the label, you know? But just for like, we want more Instagram and Facebook and TikTok numbers. That's a more modern thing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Interesting. So have you been in bands since like high school or college? When did the playing in bands start for you?
Yeah. A long time ago, my sister got, who did I just tell this story to the other day? My sister got her drum set when she was 13 or like 12 or 13. And I'm 2 years younger. And so I got my guitar that same Christmas. And we sort of just took off running with those two instruments. And we grew up in a neighborhood where we had like our best friends on the same within the same neighborhood. And they all picked up instruments at the same time.
Oh, that's
more
awesome.
or less all guitar players, to be honest. But like, one of our friends just switched over to bass because
Someone's got it.
yeah, and then we were
pull
kind
straws for it.
yeah, kind of. Actually, he was a great sport about it. But yeah, pretty mature of him to take on the role of bassist as a 13-year-old and be like, I've heard stories that they're not the sexiest, coolest, they don't get all the fans, but I'm gonna be the bassist.
They can get a lot of gigs. Drummers and bass players.
I know.
Because everyone's a guitar player.
Totally.
So drummer,
Saturated
first and
market.
foremost. If you're a drummer, you're set.
Yeah.
And then bass is next. Guitar players, you're a dime a dozen.
I know.
You know?
You really gotta find some way to separate yourself from
You gotta
that.
be different or really good or something. Otherwise, yeah, everyone's a guitar player.
Totally. Yeah, so we started like a band shortly after with our friends in our neighborhood, and we went through a lot of name changes, but like basically we played this first show and we were called Caution, and then we shortly switched to
So
this
you in a
band
band with
name.
your sister?
Yeah,
So sister, you and two friends?
sister, me, three friends.
3 friends.
Yeah, we were 5
people.
piece growing up.
How old were you at this time?
11.
Wow. So your first
Yeah.
band was when you were 11?
Yeah,
That's pretty rare.
yeah.
Honestly.
it was rad.
That's crazy. Yeah, my first at least attempt at a band wasn't until I was like 16. So 11, that's early. Wow.
Yeah, it was like I definitely didn't know what I had as an 11-year-old.
No.
And then even through like high school, I was like, doesn't everyone play in a band?
And your parents didn't care? They were cool about it?
They loved it. Yeah, they were super supportive of the band. We did a lot of stuff growing up. So like, because we were in like 3 sports too, and we loved musical theater, and then we played in the band. And
Okay, so you did a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, between all that stuff, it was a crazy schedule. But the band was awesome, and we kind of had growing up in Elgin, like at that time there were like 3 bands in the community that were kind of always gigging and like picking up the local shows and playing the local spots and playing like high school. Like we used to love to play, like our high schools would put on these things, just like outdoor fests, and we would always be the band that would be selected to play because honestly there was no other bands.
Yeah.
It was just like this fun thing. And there were some musical influences you probably know, like the people I always reference. That is a huge reason I think we even played in a band because we loved seeing them because they were like making it at the time, or at least we thought so.
Let me guess. Are they from Elgin?
They're from right around, like one is from Elgin and then like the other's from like, I think Carpentersville technically. But
Huh. I'm trying to think of bands. I know. Did you ever hear the band Sunday Cruise? I know they're from
I know of
Elgin.
them.
They're younger than you, though.
Yeah, so
But Sunday Cruise is from Elgin. I'm trying from that way. There's a few popular bands that came out from the Northwest. I know. I mean,
if you
Beach
guess this
Bunny's
band,
close
I'll be
by.
so. Yeah, well, Beach Bunny. I
Near
think like one of
northwest
them
suburbs.
technically is from Elgin, but
Beach Bunnies, something like that. What was
you
that?
got to think like 2004. They were having a big year.
Oh, 2004. 2004.
Yeah.
20 years ago. It would be. There's like Local H. No.
So funny. I have a local age story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Not
I'm
like-
thinking Local H and who else? 2004. Fall Out Boy?
No, they're not. They're not big. Like they were.
Okay,
they
they're
were
not
doing great, but like they never. Everyone's always like, okay, I'm just gonna say the band name. They're called Catfish Haven.
I never even heard of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised just because like they.
I thought they were like. I thought you were saying like a bigger band. I was like,
the other
trying
band
to-
is the Smoking Popes.
Smoking Popes. Okay, I know them. Know them. Yeah. Okay, Smoking Popes, and yeah, I think that who was that band I just named is from that region. I think Fall Out Boy is from that area.
Yeah, they're from. They're from like a North Shore suburb, I think.
North Shore. Okay, or different. One of the members is from like the Schaumburg area. I know that. Yeah. Yeah, it turns out I talk about this a lot, but it turns out and you can just look up people who are popular or famous or important from Chicago. Not 100%, but about 90-something% of whenever someone's an artist or musician, an actor, a politician, someone of importance, they're from at least the north side, if not the northwest side or the west north side. They're rarely from below the equator of Chicago on the south side, whether it's sports, whether it's acting, whether it's music. Literally name all the famous music bands from Chicago. They're all from the north or north side.
Right.
And I think it's an economic thing.
Totally. I mean,
You know?
that's
But
a
it's
lot of
just kind of
socioeconomic
crazy
stuff
that it's
about
like
that.
if something is successful, it almost always comes from the north side.
Yeah.
Not always, but almost always.
Well,
and
it's
all these
like,
bands I could think of, they're always a north, like western suburb band.
Yeah.
Like
I
even
mean,
like Smashing Pumpkins, you know, Adam Jones from Tool, Kim Thayil from Soundgarden. Who else? Rage Against the Machine, what's his name? The guitar player. They're all from that area, which is kind of crazy.
I don't know.
What's his name? The guitar player from Rage Against
I wanted to say Kurt Hammond or
Tom-
whatever, but
no.
that's Metallica.
How am I drawing a blank on his name? I love this guitar player. I can't think of his name. Doesn't matter. Anyway. What is his name? Tom Morello.
There we go.
Tom
Yeah.
Morello. I knew I'd get it eventually. Yeah, all like that region. They're all from that same area, which is interesting how that works.
I know. And yeah, there's speaking of political science, there could be a whole like socioeconomic discussion to that and like access and
That's
equality.
what I
and-
was hinting at. I'm just trying not to make everyone in the world feel bad, you know, because it's usually something that comes up when I'm talking to someone who just so happens to be from the north part of Chicagoland area.
Right.
So it just comes up in conversation, and I see that through line again. I'm like, wow, yet another person I met that is having success that is from the north. Like it's just kind.
Yeah.
Rarely I hear South Side. It's just like once in a blue moon you'll hear something.
Right.
Not common.
And yeah, I mean, like, especially if we're talking bands, and especially if we're talking like even in this, like there was a huge blues movement, obviously in Chicago, where it's like Taylor Street, and which isn't even very South Side. That's like
Yeah.
that's UIC now.
Yeah,
so
it's like West Loop.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yeah.
And then like there's do you know the artist from Chicago, Rick Wilson?
Yeah.
I know he's
Yeah.
South Side. So
I saw him at Loudpalooza. No, Pitchfork 2024, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good Pitchfork. A lot of good Chicago bands played that year. Yeah, I know Mariah Cologne, who played DZ Fest with you guys. She played with Rick Wilson that year at
cool.
Pitchfork. Now, no more Pitchfork. So
Yeah.
19 years and it just vanishes.
Well, good
Just
for
like
that
that.
guy though to like, because I heard. Are you privy to like the?
I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he has a cool stance. Where it's like he was about to be basically bought out by the overlords of what we're talking about, like the Ticketmaster kind of people who come in and change the festival's roots. Of
Well,
like,
they
what
already
it's all
were
about.
bought out in 2015.
Oh,
By the big, so there's like it's like a double. To the best of my knowledge, is like a double buyout situation. Like you're not wrong, but it's like that's like it already happened. This is like the second version of it, a bigger version of it. I believe in 2015 they sold to some big conglomerate company, which I can't think of the name of. The headquarters are in World Trade Center 1 in Manhattan. You know, so they're a big deal. multi-billion-dollar company, bought Pitchfork, 50 million, give or take, and that's when it started going downhill.
Got it.
2015. The second one was the people who own that company were like, "Hey, we want Justin Bieber's," and then the people that are running it they still get to run it, but they don't own it, so they don't have full control. Which means if they're told by the overlords, put a Justin Bieber type of person on, pre-2015, they could have been like, well, they wouldn't even have had that person telling them that. So they would be like, they wouldn't even think of it because no one's telling them it.
Yeah.
But now they can be like, they can still say no, but the company would be like, okay, then we'll just shut it down. Totally. That's pretty much what happened. So like they still were like had some creative control, but only to a certain point.
Yeah.
Just like you would a label do, just like anyone does the second someone else owns something. You can have somewhat creative control, but to a certain extent.
Right.
And so I think their big mistake was selling back then. But like, what are you going to do? That's a lot of money. If you started something.
Everyone has a price.
So
dude.
it's like, it's complicated. It's like, what do you do? Yeah, I don't know. The best way to go about it, but
what would you sell DZ Records for?
Oh, I was literally just going to say.
50 million?
The best way to go about it, but you have to be, I've only heard of this happening very few times. You have to be your name and your likeness needs to be so valuable that you can allow for this clause in your contract to where like, yeah, you buy it, but I still get creative control. You just get to make more money off of what I created. Like because you bought it, you get to make more money off owning it, but you don't get to tell or control anything I do. You'll just make more money now as a company. And that only happens at like the highest level of like celebrity or the highest level of entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, like not at my level. We're talking the highest levels can get away with that type of clause. I mean, that'd be a dream clause. Yeah, sell for 50 million, but I still get to do whatever I want and have complete creative control, and they can't like fire me and stuff. But again, you need to be one of one in the world to get those deals, like crazy deals. Most people don't get them. They get the shaft deals where it's like, yeah, we'll buy it for a good amount of money, but the second we want anything and you don't agree, we'll just fire you.
Right.
You know, you're not in charge of the board anymore. You'll just get voted off.
Yeah, they just get who's the brother from Succession that Kendall. They just get Kendall Royd.
That show was intense. That show stressed me out so much.
I know.
You watched the whole thing?
Yeah, I loved that show.
It was good.
I didn't think I would, to be honest. I was like described the plot once. And I was like, this is like sounds like douchey finance bros, capitalists, things that I would hate. And
they're great at it.
Oh my God.
They're great at being hateable, you know?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have liked that show. I got lucky I watched it when I did. I just watched it at the right age where I finally got someone exposed to that world just through being an adult and living and meeting people through like the weird world I live. So finally was able to kind of make sense. Like, oh, I've met people who are at least like know those kind of people. Maybe I don't, but like the friends I have, the people I know are now in that world. They are in tech and finance, and they described billionaires like that. Before, I would have just been like, oh, these people are scumbags. I would have just turned it off. I wouldn't have given it any thought.
Yeah.
Because I would have been just so grossed out by it. But now knowing a little bit of how the sausage is made, I'm like, oh, these people are real. There are really people like this.
Right.
That are horrible, horrible people.
I know.
And they run everything. They run a lot. Well, not everything. They run a lot of things, you know.
They sure do. Including the environment.
Yeah. Yes, this is the political science in you coming out.
It's funny how it weeds its way back into most. We can talk all we want about music, but man, it's going to make itself back in at some point.
Mm-hmm. To political science. I mean, that's a cool background to have because music isn't, everything. Art's not everything. You need to be grounded and know how some other things work. It's important.
Yeah.
Especially if you have some. It might make you look at things differently, or maybe even view like the political or the music climate, like how you see it. You can look at it from a different perspective. Maybe understand it better just by having that practice in your background.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
That does help. I get asked a lot, like, because, if you've ever listened to some Tanner Dane records, or Hollyy for that matter, it's like, it's pretty much a one lane, it's like Heartbreak.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of
those
songs.
two songs
were. A lot of songs
They're good songs. One of them was really sad.
Yeah.
Well, they both were kind of sad, but one was much sadder.
Yeah. I know that's what I'm saying is like specifically this project I really went out and I had like the hardest thing that's ever happened to me, but I definitely put it to the form of art, some art medium, and I leaned into that. I think that's what I do. I think that I just make songs like that, and I want to, and I want to continue to do that, and I think it's important and necessary for me to do that. But all this to say, I get asked a lot of like if people know some sort of political background of mine or that I'm interested or vested in it, and they're like, "Why don't you put that in your lyrics more?" And it's not that I'm like against that. I also think that, yeah, I don't know. I've never really had the super draw yet to have like a kind of like those folk lyrics of talking about the the economics of state of the world or the calling to attention like the culture that needs to change right now. It's amazing that artists are out there doing it, but I haven't felt like that's my lane yet.
I see your point. People are saying like, why don't you write more political songs? What are you? Do they say where they're coming from when they mean it? Like, why aren't you doing it because you have the ability to and you should, or why aren't you doing it like isn't that interesting in you to like pursue that?
Yeah, I think it usually comes from just someone knowing that I like have a vested interest in just local politics in general or grand scheme politics, and if you're at least a little maybe knowledgeable on it, you could speak to it, and so it's just like, why don't you do it? And it's not like I'm not trying to do it. I just also think that I think the biggest holdup I have is what are you doing it for, and if it's like super authentic to do it. So
that's a big problem because a lot of people like to talk that talk, and it's just to get more clicks, make more money.
Sure.
It's not. They don't even really know exactly what they're saying or the weight of it.
Totally.
The history of it.
Are you familiar with an artist right now? And I actually like him a lot, but I do have this question of like, are you capitalizing on the fact that it's just you're taking politics into songs like clickbait?
Mm-hmm.
His name's Jesse Wells. Do you listen to him at all?
Jesse Wells. Is he from Chicago?
I think I want to say he's from New York, but I actually don't know. He's pretty big now. He's like,
It doesn't ring a bell. Maybe if I saw it or heard it,
Got
but
it.
I don't know why.
just another, well, he's someone who's blown up on TikTok, actually.
Okay.
He's kind of like leaned into this background that very recognizable. He's always like out in nature playing a new folk song that he wrote the night before. Because it's like current events, you know.
Okay.
When the United Healthcare CEO went down, he had a song the next day about like, you know, what happens when...
Funny way to put it. When he went down. What, like a dog? When he went down for the dusty nap. You know, when that one dude went down. I forgot about that. That was so insane.
I know. And it wasn't even that long ago.
No, 5 months ago.
But he has these songs that he pumps out like the next day from a big current event. Like he'll probably have one about the new Pope tomorrow.
From Chicago.
Yeah.
I found that out today. I'm sitting
yeah.
there and I keep hearing, I'm so sick and tired about the Pope. I'm not that religious. I'm certainly not that Catholic. And I certainly don't put people on pedestals that should be doing more for society who have the hand to do it and they aren't. Totally. So I just don't care. But when I found out they're from Chicago and like, what was it? Was not St. Lawrence, St. Rita, St. Fabian, what was the high school on the north side on Belmont?
St. Patrick? Or?
It's right by DePaul, by Halstead and Belmont.
Oh,
Mount Carmel? I think it's Mount Carmel. St. Mount Carmel.
He's from there?
I guess he was a teacher there. He's born and raised in Chicago and then was a teacher there. It doesn't matter. He has very strong ties to like the church and school and normal system that you and I have heard. Like we're familiar with the system, which is just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like the Pope of the world in the Vatican is the guy like from down the street that taught at the high school that, like our peers went to if they went to a private high school. And like,
interesting.
You know, it's kind of crazy.
That is.
I never really cared, but now that it's that close to home, I'm like, huh. Crazy. I mean, Walt Disney's also from, Humboldt Park, so.
That's right. I always forget that.
His house is right down the street. You just go right past it where he was born.
Oh, it's still there?
It's still there, yeah. I don't think he spent much time there. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of famous people that are from around this area. Obama's house, I'm always walking past there in Hyde Park.
Oh, yeah.
Right there on 51st and...
Kenmore?
It's like 50 more. It's in Kenmore. It's right by Hyde Park, right where Hyde Park ends. 51st and like not Kenilworth, 51st and Ellis.
Got it.
Yeah.
You know what you're talking about? You can never get too close, right? Because the barriers stop you.
You can get close. I've gotten close. I'm not...
So close, I got tackled once.
I've gotten real close. Let's just say that. I'll tell you offline. No,
Wow.
I'm just kidding. No, I go past there all the time. And this school that I've been volunteering to do workshops at, City Elementary, is right across the street from it. So whenever I go there, I have to remind myself, when you drive down the block, there's all these signs that pretty much it tells you like you can't come down the block, but you can. Mm-hmm. They just do it to weed out almost everyone. except for those that know that you could still do it and not get in trouble because there's other people who live there.
Yeah.
They just put
I
up
was
all these
wondering about
signs
that.
as like pseudo warnings.
Yeah.
Like do not enter, closed road. It's like they make it feel like you cannot go down this road, but you can. And yeah, it's kind of trippy. It's weird. You're like, this is where the president once lived and still owns this house, and we'll probably never live here again, but kind of crazy.
I know. I don't think he spends much time there at all anymore.
It would be so bittersweet to be the neighbor for two reasons. Sweet because you're safe forever. You have the best security in the world.
Absolutely.
No one's going to break into your house if your next door neighbor is Obama. So ain't happening. Bitter because if you're trying to do somewhat shady, gray, legal stuff, it's hard now because
Right.
Secret Service is on. If you're trying to like have more weed in your house that is legally allowed in the state of Illinois, like who, you know what I mean? Like dumb stuff like that. If you're trying to have a party where people are like, oh, let's sneak some mushrooms, like I don't know.
I wonder how they
Secret
feel about
Service is right
parties
next
in
door.
general, too. Like,
Then again, the Secret Service might be like, we don't care what you do. We just care about what happens on this property.
Right.
So they probably don't care. You know what I mean? Imagine knowing like you're trying to have a party and you know that Obama's Secret Service is next to you. You'd be like, I don't know.
it would not be a very fun trip. I don't
But
think.
every time you go on vacation, you're like, our house is so safe. We don't even need security.
So fair.
You never have to worry about any break-ins ever
Yeah, I'd be
for the rest of
leaving
your
that
life.
door open
You know?
all the time.
But then again, it also probably made your house value go up a lot.
That too.
Property tax. I don't know why.
So these are things I don't know anything about.
Political
too.
science.
Property values. Pff,
That does have to do with some political science based on the
I know,
laws,
but
then the property will get changed, the value.
that it does.
How do you feel about the political climate of Chicago? Knowing what you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, you alluded to something earlier that's pretty important to speak about. And it's like, why are all these people coming out of just the north side and stuff? And
Oh, man, I could tell you.
yeah, well, yeah, exactly. and so, like, it's interesting because Chicago is so incredible and there's so much stuff. But, like, one of the also known traits of Chicago is it has been and continues to be like one of, if not the most segregated city in the world.
100%.
And when you look at it on a map, that's crazy. Is like you got downtown and the north side, and you got all these like northwest neighborhoods and all this culture going on of the things that people see in the magazines and the movies. And it's like you have the cultural hubs going on, and you got the venues, and you got all these restaurants with Michelin stars, just the cool like hip places to go to that are constantly popping up, and people are like feeling like it's all there. And then you look at the map, and you actually have, more than 2/3 of the rest of the city out here on the south side and the west side, and people don't really necessarily know about it. And
Yeah.
there's not much going on. There's not many venues. There's not many festivals. There's just they're like the access and the equality is like through the tubes and the investment, and so it's just like, and I think people turn mostly just a blind eye to that year after year.
That's all they do.
And you got politicians
do.
doing
That's all they do.
lip service every
They
run.
complain about it, and it's like, dumbasses, you guys are the ones who can actually change it.
Yeah.
You have the money. I can't. I could talk about it. I'm trying to enact change in my own small ways. But the people that live on the north side, in the North Shore, in the north parts, northwest, anything north of Madison Street, they are the ones, and the politicians, and the billionaires, and the business owners, and the corporation owners that make these things. They can get rid of the issues of food deserts and not investing in the economics of these smaller neighborhoods on the south side. Because when you drive through a Hyde Park and a Gage Park and a Englewood and a Bronzeville, you see these amazing Victorian homes, these old mansions.
Yeah.
Beautiful places that were once really wealthy areas. A lot of people from University of Chicago that bleeds through. A lot of the professors and administration that live around there gave a lot of value and money to the area. And now they're just like small little islands surrounded by some of the most dangerous neighborhoods in Chicago.
Right.
The richest areas surrounded by the poorest areas. And it's so weird. And you see it, and no one does anything about it. They could totally change it. Over 1 decade, we can change everything. And they just don't do it. Yeah, and then the ticket, trying to make money off of our tickets for the cars is horrible.
Oh my God, I've had a bad year already.
I don't even want to talk about the amount of thousands
Parking
of dollars I've given to this stupid state. And the parking that you pay doesn't go to Chicago. The Skyway toll you pay doesn't go to Chicago. They go to private companies in Saudi Arabia. because Daly's a dumbass and
Yeah.
sold it for $1 billion when it's worth like $100 billion.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, we'll be suffering for that one. I think it's like 90. It was like a 99-year lease.
Yeah.
Who does that? Who sells something for $1
We
billion
won't be
for
around.
99 years? That doesn't even make sense. They knew about inflation back. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. Was that 2000 and in the 2000s? I think that happened.
Yeah, probably early 2000s or something.
Yeah. So, I love this city, but it's got problems.
Yeah, there's a whole podcast to be said, a couple about that.
I love it, but it's got problems, and it could be changed, but it requires a lot of moving things around. Certain people not having having a little bit less money just to put back into the system.
Right.
Because the funny thing is, you'll make more money. In 10 years from now, if you bring up a neighborhood and you have a business in it, and the people who live in that neighborhood can afford to pay for that business and then stimulate that economy, like your company makes more money. It just might be further down the road. It might not be tomorrow. It might be in 5 years because you brought industry to a place.
Yeah.
It makes money. That's just how economics work. So I don't get it. I don't know why people won't invest in it, but I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Music in Chicago.
Music in Chicago.
We do need more venues on the south side.
Totally.
That'd be a great thing. We have the Ramova that just opened. Have you been there at all?
I haven't been there yet, but I had a good friend that was kind of part of, it seemed like, opening that thing up, and I've followed them ever since, and yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, I mean, they should be having more shows now. They were not having enough at first, but I think they're doing more.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a cool spot. I like the breweries was a cool spot. I'm glad they got more beers in there. Before there
So
were all
it's half
IPAs.
and half or something, right? It's like,
I'm like, why only IPAs? There's other beer on planet Earth besides IPAs.
no, there's not.
There's like 10 beers, all of them IPAs, and one Mexican lager.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, give me some other beer.
I thought we were over the IPA movement a long time ago.
Yeah, IPAs are cool, but like if you're gonna have 10 beers, you should have like one or two of each of the most popular beers on there. Have one IPA, one double, and then move on to some other stuff. You know?
Agreed.
Yeah.
My sister owns a brewery in
Oh,
Boston.
which one? The Boston Brewery.
Boston. No, it's called Beowulf. So it's like a half hour outside of the city of Boston, technically. But yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's,
This is the one that was 13 when she played drums with you.
Yep. And
Got a good memory.
she went out to, yeah, dude, nice. She went out to Boston for Berkeley. So that's like, she did the whole
What's the name of her bar?
Beowulf.
The alliteration here. What's her name? Please don't
Wiley.
to be.
Yeah.
I wish it was like Beth.
I know.
Like Beowulf.
Bernice.
Beowulf, Boston, Berkeley, and what else? Bar. A brewery.
Bar.
It was a brewery. A
Beowulf
brewery
Brewing in Boston.
There we go.
There.
That's what I was trying to get to.
And she went to Berkeley.
There we go.
So yeah, she went out there for school for Berkeley, and then she never came back. And in sort of going through the whole music side of school at Berkeley, I think one thing, and I'll just like, since I like to add spice to the podcast, one thing I learned from her was like, she loves music, obviously. She's very good at music, but she tipped me off to like, Berkeley is kind of it sort of like fosters that like everyone's competing. You kind of have like the Ivy League intellectual douchiness that you do of like those schools maybe that exist brought into a music school. So there was a lot of parts of it that I think kind of soured her taste of just like being in music for a bit. And she got away from music too for a little while. And I think that's how she naturally went. She had to like work some jobs during the summer, and brewing happened to be one of them. And then a love for brewing obviously developed to the point where she got an opportunity to like go in on a partnership for a brewery. And now that's what
so
she does.
cool.
So yeah. And she's doing a lot of music now again too, thankfully, because she missed it. But yeah, dude. Anyways, IPAs, their thing out there was like they never make the same beer twice. That is like their shtick, and they stick to it. And so even if you like, they make a beer and you love it, and you're like, please just do one more run, they never do.
That's great. I like that.
A lot of them are IPAs, or at least they're New England IPAs.
IPAs. I don't get people just want to get drunk faster. Like, what's the obsession?
It was marketable, and I think we're just still like
Exotic? Indian. It's an Indian pale ale.
yeah. I don't really know.
Triple. I got me a quad IPA, 15%.
I don't understand.
Whenever
it
I've
either.
had those, I'm like, what is this? It's like hard liquor beer. I'm like, this is not what beer is supposed to be. Like,
No, it makes
quad
you feel high
IPA,
too.
15%. You're supposed to drink 3 ounces at a time. It's too strong.
I don't get it either. But it's out there and it's still going. So maybe we take down Ticketmaster and IPAs. Big IPA.
Big IPA, big pharma, big ticket. Live Nation.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Corrupt politicians. You can't. I don't think it's possible to get corruption out of politics because you'd have to get money and lobbyists and certain tax codes and certain tax havens out of it because you have to start from the foundation. Because if you could just leave the country, then you'll just go to a country where your taxes. So you have to like reverse engineer the whole thing to where anyone could have a reason, be like, well, I'll just take my billions to Switzerland or the Cayman Islands or Ireland or Panama. You know,
You're right, and not a lot of people get that.
No, so you got to stop it there, and then you could start.
There's a lot of undoing. Totally.
But why would no one's going to undo that? Because the people who are in charge of that do that too. So why would they be like, yeah, you're right, we should stop doing that?
Well, yeah, I think that's unfortunately why we've seen little to no change, and we'll continue to,
Ever.
But ever.
I mean, talking about it helps because if that stuff appears in the news or on some type of congressional paperwork to be signed, at least if you hear about it, you like know, you be like, oh, that's a lie. Like, I won't vote for it. Like, at least you can kind of be aware, but it doesn't change the fact that you're never to get the money and the bribery and stuff out of it.
Yeah.
You're just not. You have to have people that aren't into it. And why would they be there if they're not into it?
Yeah.
Like, you weren't into being a political scientist, so you didn't go down that path. But you seem like you have good morals. Like, you probably would be a good person to be in politics, but you don't want to do it. Right. Who would have thought?
Yeah, and that's the other thing is like you don't necessarily need whatever platform you have. I suppose as long as you speak up for the right things, that's politics. So you don't have to. That's what really rubbed me the wrong way is like you don't gotta go do this song and dance, be an intern in DC, be on some dumb committee, suck up and continue continue the whole like what we're talking about. The reason why it never changes is because. Personally, I think like if we are entering a new era of politicians, they need to not all come from being political science majors, going to law school, and doing that whole leaning into the song and dance that has been created from the foundation when it was all created for the first place. Like you got to have cool, people who just are your neighbors, work in that normal job and have an understanding of how why their community would flourish, and they're not from outside the community. Probably that's pretty important too. Mm-hmm. But musicians, there's actually a guy from I don't know if this guy's cool by any means, but there's a guy from One Republic, that band, who's running for Senate, I think, in California. And his whole thing is kind of the same thing where he's like, look, California has had your classic politicians for as long as we can remember. They're always the district attorneys. They're always the corporate, overlords. I played in a rock band and I went out for 20 years and toured, the world. And I sat in on high-end executive meetings, which I translate now to the rooms in business and the corporate world, and I know what it's like to get can I swear?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
I know what it's like to just get fucked over on deals and to be the small man fighting for a say of nickels and dimes streaming services. So it's he knows what it's like to fight for the small people, I think, as well as be within an industry it's in the arts and it's in the creative space. So it's a breath of fresh air, if nothing else, from, hi, I'm Jim Johnson and I'm here from, hi, I've been CEO of Kellogg for 20 years. And it's just it's such a breath of fresh air to have someone come in from that angle.
And now I have high governmental clearance,
right? Because
I am now your Secretary of Defense, and you're just what?
Yeah. It turns out there's a weird serial to defense pipeline going on these days.
It turns out being a lawyer does not mean you're a great politician. Maybe you're a good lawyer, but they're not the same thing.
Totally,
they're not the same thing at all. The one quality you might have is you might be good at lying to people and being okay with it. That's probably about the only good quality you have, that from a lawyer to a politician. That's why they might be good at it. That's it. But anyone can do that. Humans are good at lying, so anyone could do it.
I know.
Doesn't have to just be a lawyer. Yeah. Well, we clearly have learned over the last 50 years that not just lawyers are going to be politicians, but people in the military, people who are actors, people who are celebrities of all kinds. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's also worth noting that I think we have to be a little more careful too which celebrities we put forward into the ether of
yeah. We need to be careful
who we put
who we put forward. We put forward the most ridiculous things.
Totally.
Yeah, I care way more now than ever about it's like the inverse power of politics. It's to me, it starts from like me and my neighborhood and my friends, my family. Like I put more power there, and it gets really weak as I get to like who is the president of the United States.
Yeah.
By the time it gets to that, I'm like, oh, does it even matter anymore? Like, does anything matter anymore besides what I can control, which is again my body, my home, my neighborhood, my neighbors, my friends, my family, my community, the neighborhood of Bridgeport, city of Chicago, Cook County. It probably can end there. I probably can't do any more of an impact beyond that, like realistically. So that's where I put all the focus. And as it gets beyond that, my energy gets so weak that's like a distant star, like the heat from a distant star. By the time you talk about Democrats and Republicans and Trump, I'm just like, I got nothing left. It's nonsense. It's gibberish. It's voodoo. It's garbage. I'll focus on my city and what actually like I can do something about. I can't change the federal government or this planet, but I could definitely like help my neighborhood out, the students I have, the friends that come through at my clients, the music scene, like things I can actually, I've seen physically me change something. I'll stick there because the other stuff, I'm not doing anything. No one's doing anything. So,
All right.
Not
That's
that it's
a pretty
hopeless,
cool lane to be in.
but you just gotta know your lane. Now, if I was a billionaire, that'd be a different conversation because I could have some impact, but I'm not. So I have to know what really I can be productive, like what works.
Yeah.
Be realistic. And maybe one day it can grow, that thought, but for now, it's like, come on. I can't do anything about what's happening in Uganda or the Democratic Republic of the Congo. But I can learn about it and like try to help stuff here. It's about as far as I can go,
That's a good take on it.
How do you feel about it? Similar?
Yeah. Well, speak for yourself, actually, because some of us are doing a lot more for the Democratic Republic of the Congo than others, apparently. No, I feel the same way. And I think, like, even if it leads to something larger than that, there's no need to, like, to go into something, especially, like, man, we are really hitting the politics today. I love it. But, like, yeah, to go into something to be like, I'm going to change the world is like, yeah, just start with your community. Do what you're doing. You're doing an awesome thing. I think even what you just said, like, I forgot that you're a teacher, but yeah, doing that and helping your students and like going out into different organizations and lending your time and volunteering that way and like literally just like changing communities and then bringing in the bands that you do and like meeting all these people and like offering your services and your recording, your production and just a space like this. That's a lot more than 99.99% of the people can say. So that's cool.
Well, thank you.
So just knowing your lane, that's a big part.
Yeah, just know it works for you. If you're a musician like yourself, then make people happy with your music. Have a good show. Have a good social media presence. Have a good conversation on a podcast where your fan can like learn something about you and maybe get inspired. Maybe they hear this and they go, yeah, maybe I'll stop spending more time worrying about the federal government and I'll help out my community. You never know. Federal government. Spare me.
Sigh. But the music, what I see is the music segue back into it all.
Yeah, segue back to the music.
Aside from me not writing political songs here, I don't really know what's to come, to be honest. Like, I am just doing, I have my little, like, networking community of people that I work with, too, and very fortunate to work with, like, the producers that I do and the bandmates that I do, and the management that I have, too, is, like, everyone, like, all the pieces of the puzzle are there. And so I think I'm just going to take this summer, the rest of the spring, we're not even in summer, and play like I'm always submitting for more shows. And I have the means to go out and do like these Midwest runs and weekend warrior runs. Or if, it'd be awesome if I get called up next week and be like, hey, can you hop on this 2-week tour with what's her name? And like, I'll do it because that's what I'm doing right now. But I'm not really sure. I have a couple dates spread out across the course of the summer between myself and between Holly, and we're excited. We're kind of taking it as it comes and hoping it builds out so much more than even where we're at right now in May. I hope like a month from now my schedule's looking crazy.
I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
It can from more stuff on the internet, more viral TikTok, this podcast, these videos. I mean, little things like that. You never know. I mean, this podcast, I did not expect it to go where it's been the last 100 episodes and the people that have been on it and what they've gotten out of it. Some people have gotten jobs out of it. This one friend of mine, I reached out to a person randomly. Her name was Hannah Ross, and great illustrator. So I was just reached out to her. She comes on the podcast, talked to her for 3 hours, don't think anything of it. She leaves. Her stepsister is one of my best friends. I didn't know that at the time because I didn't know that side of her family because it's a step family, you know? And she's like, oh, you had my stepsister on the podcast. I was like, oh, I had no idea. Her name's Leah, and she was actually the 100th episode, the last one. She just came on.
Wait, is this 101?
They're separate.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, so Hannah is an illustrator. Leah's her stepsister. I know Leah for like 18 years, did not know Hannah. Had Hannah on, and then Leah tells me like, oh, by the way, like Hannah got a publisher listened to your episode with her and signed her, and it's like her dream publishing deal to be like she got a really nice deal to be a children's book illustrator because of a person listening to this podcast. Right? I didn't know it was her stepsister. I didn't know like none of it. So her family is very excited, and it was a big ordeal, and like they invited me to this part. It was a great time. So I had no idea, but yeah, what I'm saying is you never really know what could happen.
Yeah, I need a job. So
yeah, you get a new job. Maybe you get signed to an even bigger label.
That's right.
And then
one
you gotta
that will release my music.
Yeah, that would drive me crazy. Yeah. Secretly, I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I just sit on this. It's got to be a weird feeling to just sit on music for a long time.
I think the weirdest part is just like, you know, because it's all sort of mental at the end of the day. So you're just like, you're bracing for you're making it your thing, and you're told how successful it's going to be and what a cool team you're kind of putting together. And then the next thing you know, it's like, oh yeah, well, we're just not putting it out for now. So you have to like rewind and retrain yourself that like, you thought things were going to be handed or like placed in your lap more than they were. And then you're just back to square one and like working on more music and like gigging around the Midwest, sometimes to like 2 people, sometimes to 500 people. You know, it's like the whole trip is crazy. So
what's been your best show to you, and like where was it, and what made it so great, if you can remember? Could be a big crowd, or could it just be like a really great crowd?
Yeah,
they're just good fans, you know.
Yeah, I think the things that stick out in my mind were like, it was always a really big deal for us to play. Well, first of all, the first show we ever played really was this place called Moe's Tavern, which I don't even think is around anymore.
Moe's. I don't know. I don't know if it's around, but I remember Moe's.
It was kind of in Logan, maybe.
Was this like 2008?
I think it was in 2000. Oh no, I'm sorry.
18, I mean?
For Hollyy, yeah, 2018.
Okay.
And that was like really one of our first shows in the city, and it was so fun. And we just had our friends out. We had like a couple, probably family members, and there were a couple people floating around in the bar already, and maybe the other band brought in 5 people. And I just remember that was like something that was, solidifying to it all at the end of the day. It was like this little place down the street. We were so happy to actually have a gig. And then the energy in that room was great. And it's funny to think about that day and how it's not like you were selling tickets to Moe's Tavern or something. It's not like you really had an idea of anyone who was coming out.
I mean, it's called Moe's Tavern.
Yeah. You're there to like play music because you love playing music, and you had some tunes that you just wrote, and you're amped to get out there and do it, and you have a cover song that you're so like stoked to get out and play live and like see and just like do it with your friends, and like have your friends that are there that aren't even in your band like have a night of it and that you still talk about. So I always remember that because it's like you do that, and then you grow and you do things and you play all these venues and you open up for these artists that you never thought you would. And then we played Hollyy Hall for the first time, and that was like this really fun thing to think about. It's like, remember when we just did this like with no expectation for fun, and then we played Hollyy for the first time, and it was just like had this huge. I don't know if it wasn't our show. We were opening up for a band, but I think it was sold out. So it was just
who
like
was the band?
That time was California Honey Drops.
Okay. That's
And,
cool.
Yeah, it was a cool.
Thalia Hall. You call it Thalia? I always call it Thalia.
I think it is Thalia.
I never know what to call it, but I've heard Thalia since it opened in like 2012 or 13.
Yeah.
So I don't actually. I don't know the official answer. I think it's Croatian. So
Right.
who knows?
I know. I like. There's always people. What I've noticed is like, if you're like from Chicago, you say Thalia Hall, and then if you're like more or less a tourist or like not, I don't know. There's like this weird correlation, like Talia.
You're right.
Anyways, I'm gonna say
right. I've heard
I was
bands
gonna
call
own
it Thalia, and I've called everyone else call it Thalia.
Yeah,
like only bands call it.
I don't know what it is either.
Doesn't matter. It's a cool venue, and the guts of it, the inners of it, it's a cool spot. Like the green room, all that. It's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. How long between Moe's and Thalia was it? How many years?
I think that was 5 years. It was like
That's
2018
not
to
bad.
2023.
Not bad to go from a spot that a lot of beginner bands can like play to a spot that not beginner bands can play.
Totally.
That's
and,
pretty cool.
And like just the with that too, because that was we done like a couple support slots over there. But we are doing. It's not announced yet, but this will be a fun way if anyone hears about it. This will be the announcement. We are doing our first headlining there this year, so we're gonna do Hollyy in December at Talia.
Hollyy at Dolly.
Yes,
Look
Hollyy
at that.
Hollyy.
And when is it?
December 19th.
Okay, that's cool. Is it with Rat Boys?
No, they're playing.
Because they always play there every December.
Do they?
Or November, December, they play at Thalia. They've been doing that for like 5 years.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
They're actually playing August. There's like you know that thing that they do? They like open Talia to like, it's called Free Day or something like that, and they have bands play and vendors and stuff. Mm-hmm. So funny enough, my friends in Motel Breakfast, who I think you
I
also
know them. Cool guys.
Their guitar player is going to be out of town that day, and they're playing, and Rat Boys is playing. So I got an inside scoop, but they asked if I could play guitar.
Oh,
fill
sick.
in for them that day. So that's the
cool.
only reason I know.
And
what's
that's at
going on.
Thalia?
Yeah,
In August?
in August. Yeah.
And then you're going to play in December?
Yeah.
Holly, nice. I'm trying to go to both. That
Hell
sounds
yeah.
fun. I've been trying to convince my friends forever, and it's never going to happen because they're my friends, to like when a band plays that we know, we should all pitch in to get the box suite at Thalia because it's not that much money.
No,
Like when
sometimes
Rat
it's-
Boys plays, I've thought about this every year for when Rat Boys plays because they're one of my favorite people, and I've been in touch with them. I mean, we've been working together for 12 years now, but every year I can't get enough friends to like agree because it's like 6 tickets, you know.
Yeah.
But they're only like $10 more than the admission.
I know.
It might be like $48 instead of $38.
Totally.
So like it's worth it if you can get 6 people to pitch it. So you know it might be like $300, but the seat's cool. You get to see your friend right there. They'll see you.
I know.
It's fun.
I love those seats. I think
I
that's
know.
a great
I've been
idea.
in them. I just can't get my friends to do it with me for a band. I've only been in one like on a guest list with like people that I know that are playing,
Right.
and I'm hanging out with them, like that kind of thing, you know. But yeah, I've been watching some. You know, maybe I'll convince some people to do it for yours. But yours will probably sell with friends and family. Will probably get those spots.
I have no idea how that works, but I assume
Anyone can get them, but I'm assuming they would probably want to get them first because they're really cool, you know.
we'll see. We'll see how much our friends and family, jump on this opportunity.
Are you headlining or opening up?
Headlining, yeah.
Nice. That's so cool.
Yeah, we do a show called Holidays every year to lean into the holiday season
That's-
and our namesake.
That does sound familiar now you say that.
And so this will be
Clever.
our this will be our 5th one.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's
I'm
cool.
just thinking about, I don't know where the time goes. Like, we
Yeah.
just had a random idea once to do that, and it started at Sleeping Village. Maybe at Sleeping Village, Lincoln Hall, and now we're doing Talia. So,
I mean, the fact that you've been able to play at those venues for the last 5 years, and you've only been a band for, 7 years?
yeah.
That's
yeah.
kind of crazy.
Yeah, we made,
You made progress quick.
That's
good.
Yeah, I think we're lucky for that, for sure. We also, there's a reason we burnt out pretty bad. And, we had to take last year, honestly, as, really spread out the practices. And, but I think we jumped in really, really quick, and we got to work right away. And it helped. I mean,
that's good. You
Yeah,
were
stuff
able to
like
do all these things so quickly.
right.
So, yeah, I guess that works. So when you came in for a session, that might have been, the first year you were a band.
Well, dude, when we came in
2018?
Yeah.
I'll never forget. This is the kind of memory I have. You had on black overalls.
Yes.
You like that?
That's amazing.
Thousands and thousands of bands and videos. I can remember what people wear, the time of year, all these things can come
Yeah.
out. No matter how many people I meet or videos, for some reason I'll never forget a white shirt with black.
That's an
overalls.
amazing memory.
Yeah, when I just look at you, I could see it now.
I even wore a hat that day. I never
That was
wore
7 years ago.
Yeah.
I still can see it in my head. I don't know what that is.
Well, the lineup that day was nuts because we were Holly technically, but we were still figuring out who was really in Holly. And I'd heard of you guys, and I kept seeing your stuff pop up, and I was like, man, it'd be so cool to do one of these sessions. And I remember I reached out, and it's one of those things where it's you're pretty used to reaching out to people at that point, and then never getting back to you. You're just that's what happens with a young band is you're I would love to open up for you at United Center.
Please look at me.
Yeah,
please.
And you just never get a response.
nothing.
You guys responded, and we were like, "Oh my god, that's sick!" But at the time, I remember we did a Staple Singers cover, and then I think we did another song of ours called Rosie's Song. And yeah, it was just like this. It kicked us into gear because we probably weren't expecting you to even respond. And then we were like, oh shit, we have to like actually play a live session. And I played bass, which is hilarious because if you listen to it, like I'm just playing the root notes. I'm not a bassist. So I was just like, and then yeah, it was like Brandon was on guitar at the time, and our friend Chaz, I think, was on guitar at the time. He was never in the band actually, but he was in our bands growing up when we were playing high school bands.
Oh, okay.
But he was kind of like a fill-in for that session. And then, yeah, I think Rafi was on drums that session. I don't even remember, but it's just like, that's a trip.
That's crazy.
So we were figuring
7
it out
years
back
ago.
then.
I'm glad it motivated you.
I know.
I try to get back to everyone. If I've ever missed an email, it was an accident. It was because like I literally missed it, like an accidental mouse delete, like the rare ones when you're like moving the smart mouse around, you accidentally delete something or hide it or put it in trash.
Totally.
Yeah, I may have missed a handful of emails, but that's not a bad record when you've received tens of thousands of emails. Dude. But a few have slipped through the crack. I apologize if I missed it. I'll miss more of a message, like an Instagram or a Facebook message. I'll miss more of those than I will an email. So I try to get people like just email. Too many places to get reached out to from. It's chaos.
Totally.
Between all the Facebook pages and Threads and X and TikTok and Snapchat and YouTube and then all the emails and then the school emails and then the band. I'm just like, I think I have 17 locations to get an email, like a message through me. And I'm like, I don't even... Wow. How did this ever happen?
You know,
it's too many things.
It's a lot of Gmails.
I mean, you get it as a band. You probably have, at least 10 different places someone can actually reach you through all of the social medias, And you probably have at least a few different emails. One per band, maybe.
That's right. We have our alias manager that we use. Yeah, it all stacks up, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're not quite there.
Nothing cooler than making up your own manager. Because how would anybody ever know?
Well, totally. And
you just lie.
I think that's something that's... totally. It's something to talk about real quick, too, because it's like I thought it was so genius because it did start to work for certain things. Like, at least even get a response.
So you did do it?
Oh, we've always done it. Our alias is Nate Brueggemann, which is actually one of our best friends who lives at the band house.
That's a great idea.
But, yeah, I've gone under Nate Brueggemann since the inception of Hollyy. But, like, it's crazy... Like in thinking about it, the amount of gigs that we've set up or management teams that we've worked out deals with or whatever it is, and they think that there's a Nate Brueggemann out there in the world that's slinging and like wheeling these deals.
Just the best manager of all time.
Yeah. But, and then like in talking about it, because one of my in Motel Breakfast, not to out them too, but, my friend Mick in that band, like I was talking about him one day and he's like, oh, you mean... That's our Tim O'Connor. And we're like, what? And he's like, yeah, we go under an alias called Tim O'Connor.
Great.
So it's like all these indie bands out there are doing...
basic, like, 50-year-old white guy. Yeah. That's all you got. You got to find that and you're set.
I know. Everyone has... I mean, it's this funny thing, but I've learned a lot of indie bands have figured it out where it's like you make up an alias manager and you just start slinging emails. And something about having a management team and like having a little like professional sign off at the bottom of an email can go a long way.
It's the same thing I mentioned earlier with vinyl. It just says something about the band. If a band has vinyl, whether or not the band's good or have been around for a bit or are doing well or even can afford that, maybe they're maxed out on their credit card. Doesn't matter. They put in the effort. They have this physical thing that takes time and money, and they had to plan a record and have it produced right and mastered right so it can even be laid onto vinyl. Like there's a lot of things that underline why someone has a record.
Totally.
And it's the same thing. If you have a manager and they represent you and they have at certainagency.com and they have a signature and they get official names, executives, whatever. It makes you feel like, oh, this is an expert. This is a professional. They must make enough money to pay this person.
Right.
Like, wow. Okay, yeah.
There's a lot of allure.
Whereas actually, I have the opposite for those listening. When a manager reaches out to me, I'm like 99% less likely to want to work with them.
Yeah.
Because they tend to be asshats.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And dicks.
You gotta
and just not fun.
understand that too.
So when a band reaches out and they're like, oh, we have a man, I'm like, oh, shoot. This is going to suck to deal with them. I always want to be like, can I just get your number? Can I just circumvent the manager? Because they're going to be annoying to deal with.
No,
they mostly have been annoying to deal with. It's much more fun to deal with people who are not. Because they're not involved. They don't care. It's matter of fact. They don't budge as well. They're not fun or funny to talk to. They're not
lacking
being
in
cute.
personality.
Yeah, they're just like, da-da-da-da-da, we want this. And you're like, how about like, oh, good to meet you. Thanks for coming in. They're just, so I don't like it. So for those listening, I actually get, even though you might be more professional because you have one, I just get more annoyed with having to deal with managers. They're not musicians. They're not as creative. They're not as colorful. They're not as in love with what they're doing. The list goes on.
That's a really good point.
So,
you have to have intuition too to like understand.
But I know better. Like it took at first, I would have been caught by the person who reached out and be like, "Oh my god, a manager!" But after a couple thousands, you're like, "I like just talking to the artist. If I could just talk to them and not deal with any label, any management, that's more fun."
Totally.
Me. Yeah. So I think it depends on what you're doing. If you're trying to book at Shuba's or Lincoln Hall or Sleeping Village, it probably helps to have a manager. If you're trying to get into an underground DIY scene, you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't work out because I don't actually want to be with that world.
Right.
So, like, it doesn't work with me, you know? But it works if you are of that world.
Yeah.
So do it for certain things. For those listening, do it for certain things. If you're trying to get DIY stuff, don't do it there. I don't think anyone in...
Yeah, you're not impressing anyone.
No, if you're booking a garage, they're not like, oh, you have a manager? Oh, great. They're going to be like, well, how am I supposed to get them? They have a manager. Now they're going to ask for more money to pay for their manager. Like, now we can't get them. So I think it would have the opposite effect.
Which is another thing to talk about is like booking agents. It's just like we've been in Hollyy, like we're our own booking agent. Pretty much always happened. We worked with a booking agent for a while, and he was a great dude, but like you kind of wonder at the end of the day, like, a couple opportunities come your way from booking agents, but for the most part, you're still mostly doing that yourself. And I feel that way now too. You know, it's like no one's going to work harder than you, like for your own stuff, because you're the one who cares the most about it. So it's like, I technically have a booking agent now, and he's landing me stuff, and he's great, but like, I'm doing way more, you know, and then at the end of the day, even the stuff that, you know, how the whole deal structure works out, it's pretty standard. It's like, even if I book a show myself, 10% still goes to him, you know, and so it's just like.
Then why do it?
Well, right. I mean, so.
That's great. So if you book it, it can prove that it was through your hands.
Right.
They still get paid 10%?
Yep. And that's pretty standard. Like, unless you have like a handshake deal with more or less a friend, like that's how
I should become
how
a
it rolls.
booking agent.
I know, dude.
I need to become a booking agent and a consultant. Consultant, I don't know what they do. Everyone's a consultant. Consultants are just, when like you talk to like an old school person and they're just like, yeah, I know a guy. Like, your dad just has a guy who fixes tires and a guy who fixes roofs. Like, they just know a guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, I mean, we have it too, but I'm just thinking classic. Like, oh, I got a guy. I know a guy.
Uh-huh.
A consultant is just a rich person's, I know a guy.
So true.
That's all it is.
So fair.
Poor people just know a guy and they trade like casseroles for helping each other fix homes.
Right.
That's all I know. Rich people have consultants. Hey, I know a guy that can connect us to stuff. We'll give him $1,000 an hour and he'll hook it up. That's our consultant.
What a world.
So whenever you hear you don't hear rich people say I know a guy because they have consultants or they know consultants. And you hear poor people say it because they can't afford consultants. So they just know a guy who's been doing something with his hands his whole life. So he's the guy and they hook him up and that guy knows a guy who can fix pipes and they can fix roofs. And you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I don't know if that's a perfect
You know any
thing,
guys that can fix like guitar necks?
Yeah. Well, what's wrong with your guitar neck?
Oh, I've been trying. I actually love it because it has a lot of character now, but also at the same time, every once in a while, I'll slide down like deep on the neck and I'll like get a nice little scratch or something because we played
the metal frets need to be...
Not the metal frets, actually. The actual wood got indented and sharp because we were playing some show, and it was in Washington, D.C., and I'll never forget, it was like this kind of halfway venue, halfway just a party for someone. It was actually a really fun crowd because sometimes you're touring and you're playing to like 5 people, and it's like, why are we driving hundreds of miles for this? But then you play this one show, and, this happened to be in D.C., and you're playing to like hundreds of people, and you're like, this is why we do it, And like, but it was kind of chaotic because we finished our set and like people just started getting up on stage. They were so drunk, and we kept our gear up because we went out and just started. We didn't load up right away. We just started like go grab a drink and hang out with the crowd a bit. And next thing we know, people are up on stage just like knocking shit over and like slinging their beer around. So things are getting sticky. And someone knocked my guitar over. And it just must have landed in a terrible spot, like on the edge of something. And so if you look at my neck, I have this huge like indentation on the 12th fret where the wood just got like carved inwards. And so I'm still looking I don't even know what I can do.
So I know what you'd have to do. If I had I have some of the right tools. If I had the right tools and I did this more, I could just do it for you. But you probably would want to put some wood.
Well, you know a guy.
I know guys too. I know 3 guys that can do it. Three guys that can do it. One guy that's a luthier, that's in a band that just came through. He even asked me, he's like, hey, if anybody ever needs anything done in Chicago, like this is what I fix guitars.
Oh, sick.
So that guy, I think Black Bobbin up in Wicker Park. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of them.
Yeah.
Him.
Is he
Shelby,
still there?
Shelby.
Black Bobbin dude? Cool.
Yeah. So he probably can do that stuff, or knows someone who can. Over by my old house, Hidden Music, which had the best prices, he would fix that. But you could put you would have to do a little bit of sanding, maybe a slight course, like a 150 or 160 grids of sand per square inch, and you sand that to kind of get rid of the lack or anything, and then you put a wood putty in there, dry it, and then sand it again with that course, and then go to a really fine one, like a 200 or a 250 or a 300. The more fine, the more numbers per square inch, the more it'll get smooth.
Right.
You want to get back to that smooth, and you could sand off that wood putty and fix it. Yeah.
Cool.
So you could wood putty and then sand it, but you have lacquer on there, so you have to be careful with that. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I truly have not, I can certainly still play it, and it's just sort of like I said, it's almost like this additional character on the parts caster now, but I really should get more serious about getting that fixed probably this year, so that's good.
Yeah, text me. There's a bunch of people I could just send you that way, and that's what you would do. It's how you would do it. How attention to detail is up to the individual, but it's not too crazy of a fix.
Cool.
Just some wood putty, sanding, drying, and then the lacquer, that would be hard. I don't know if you'd have to completely strip it to redo that right. I don't know. I'm sure someone could do it better than me.
Yeah.
I'm not a pro
You
at
can
it.
take a look at it too before I head out. And
Yeah.
It's an interesting dent.
But better than the neck snapped. I thought you were going to tell me my neck broke, I know
No.
people who have Les Pauls,
Yeah.
when those necks break.
I know.
That's it's like breaking your femur. It's the guitar is never the same.
Totally.
It's literally like breaking the guitar femur.
Yeah.
It'll work.
I've
It'll
heard that's
never be the same.
painful.
The guitar femur or the femur?
The femur.
I don't want to know what that feels like.
I know it's like oh God.
God. I mean, yeah, that is like a really thick, strong, heavy-duty bone.
Yeah. So
Doesn't
that
seem
thing
like
to go
it's
down,
ever meant to be broken. So when you
Totally.
break it, oh man, I know it's one of the few bones you could break and you could die.
Oh shit.
Yeah, because of its connection to the femoral artery.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, because they're lined up on
Yeah.
the inside. But that makes sense that your artery's there because it's a safe place
Yeah.
on the
totally.
inside of your thigh as far as safety from the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just Darwinism right there.
Yeah. Evolution, politics, money, Live Nation.
We've almost hit it all
Evolution.
now. I was wondering when evolution would come in. Nice.
Are there any other shows or anything you want to promote that are for the fans of the podcast? Any Holly shows, your personal shows, any events that are coming up?
Yeah, I'm playing one of my shows a week from tomorrow, so it'll be at Chop Shop. I'm opening up for this guy. I think he's coming here from London. His name is Victor Ray.
Is this May 18th?
May 16th.
16th. Okay, so this will be out next Wednesday, which will be May 14th.
Oh, right on.
So people, if you're listening, in 2 days from now, go to Chop Shop.
Amazing.
Guy from England's playing.
Yeah, his name's Victor Ray, and yeah, I'm doing an opening set and super excited. I think this guy. It's always interesting to see these mega big people, but they're from Europe. So in Europe they're playing 5,000 cap rooms, but then they tour in North America and he's playing Chop Shop, which is a fine spot. I wish I could go to Europe and play the 500 cap rooms, but the fall off is interesting because it's if he's selling out in 5,000 cap rooms, but he comes to Chicago, he can only do a 500 cap room. So.
Mm-hmm.
But he's great, and looking forward to that. And then I got a show in Ann Arbor at the end of the month at this place called The Ark. I've never played that before. That's on May 27th.
They found the Ark?
They found The Ark.
I've been looking for thousands of years. It's been in Ann Arbor this whole time.
Settled in Ann Arbor. Funny enough. Go Blue. And yeah, other than that, I'll be we're doing a Hollyy tour, Chattanooga, Tennessee in June. Then we're hitting
Love
the Motor
Chattanooga.
Pub in Cincinnati. You ever played that one?
No, but I've been to Cincinnati, been in Chattanooga a bunch of times. I like Chattanooga.
I
Underrated city.
Totally. I think both of those are. I love Cincinnati.
Cincinnati's underrated. It's the best city in Ohio. Sorry, Ohio. Sorry,
yeah.
Toledo and Cleveland and Youngstown. I'm sorry.
Poor Toledo, dude.
Cleveland's pretty cool. Chattanooga's cool. I like where it's just beautiful. The location right in the Appalachians, up between Georgia, Tennessee, small town, like kind of halfway, give or take, between like Chicago and Florida. Like, and it's a cool spot. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're looking forward to that. It's just a quick little weekend warrior, and then we're doing Mile of Music Fest in Appleton, Wisconsin this year, which I've heard is sick. Like I think we're gonna have a lot of fun at that. And then we're going on the road with a band called Penelope Road in August.
Oh, cool.
And then we got Hollyy at the end of the year. So
And then the tallest Thalia, December 19th. Is it a Friday?
I think so. It's either Friday or Saturday.
Friday or
I think
Saturday,
it's-
December 19th.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's very cool. That's got to be so crazy to headline Thalia, huh?
Yeah,
One
talk
of the,
about
one
like
of the bigger venues in the city, you know?
yeah,
Before you get to like super duper big.
right.
But I've seen a lot of amazing bands play there. Some of my favorite bands that play there, you know?
Yeah, I know it's a lot to live up to, but
No pressure.
yeah, super excited, and there's certainly some tickets to sell and move before then. So
I hope this helps, you know, for those listening, go see Hollyy at Thalia in Pilsen in Chicago, December
Yeah.
19th, headlining. I could vouch. It's a great venue. I can vouch Holly's a great band.
heyo.
And yeah, check them out. And hopefully keep your ear out for a record coming out from Tanner. You said Dane? Dan? What do you-
Dane, yeah,
Dane.
yeah.
Like
my
Great
name.
Dane. Great Dane.
Great Dane. That's what I don't even know what that. We were talking earlier. What was I named after? I also don't know where Dane is from. So
Your last name is Dane? Or is it a middle
it's my
name?
middle name,
Dane. What's your last name?
Bednar.
Betnar.
It's shortened from Bednarovich, which I believe is Polish.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds Russian, Polish, Ukrainian. It's one of those.
It was Owicz, Ovich.
Oh,
So it was one of
okay.
those. Yeah.
Why? Who shortened it? Like great grandfather or something?
I think it was it was either my great grandpa or my grandpa, but it was one of those things where it's like, you know, every ethnic group at one point had a hard time getting a job, and usually your last name tipped them off first. So it was like the Polish people were having a hard time getting a job at some point, and so it was like he was like, well, I guess I'll switch it from Bednarovich to Bednar. It'll be much more popular in the world of tile laying,
Yeah.
and I think it worked out.
It worked out. And if they couldn't get a job because of the last name, they're like, well, shoot, we'll just create our own jobs. We'll just do all the construction.
Damn right.
We'll do everything. And that's why I love the Poles, the Polish folks and the Mexican folks. We're like, you know, we'll just do everything ourselves. We don't need anybody else.
Yeah, truly.
And we'll do it the best,
Self-functioning.
the most affordable, the most efficient, the quickest, and no one can compete with us.
Damn
And
right.
I'm proud to be a lot of Polish and Mexican because I'm like, you know, the hardest working, strongest people I've ever met in Western civilization are Mexican and Polish people.
Wow.
I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're not
Go
wrong.
around the city of Chicago. Who's doing everything?
No, yeah.
They're
You don't
Polish or
gotta tell
Mexican?
me, dude.
I mean, you're part Polish. You get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder where, like, I probably have some lazy ancestry in me somewhere. It's like, well, you're right.
Finnish, Swedish,
Oh,
Norwegian.
yeah, the laziest.
The
Dude.
It's cold. Everything's free. Let's just chill here.
Yeah. Tinned fish. I don't feel like cooking, so I'll just put fish in tin for the next 6 months.
Actually, maybe it's the Spanish now. They used to be hardworking, and then they're like, we conquered it all, and then they've been chilling for a couple hundred years. What have they been
That's
doing?
true. Yeah, the Portuguese have a lot of things to say about the Spaniards. I realize. I went to Portugal a couple years ago.
Oh, okay. What do they have to say?
Whenever they can slip a joke in about the Spanish, they do.
Really?
I think it has mostly to do with like, because in terms of conquesting, the Spanish conquested so much, but there was something about how the Portuguese fended them off more, either forever or more than any other for the longest period of time. So yeah, I think it had something to do with that. Is like they have a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, it turns out America's not the only country that has prejudice and racism and sexism and tribalism and xenophobia. It's like, in fact, we're not even close
Yeah.
to the OGs of it, and we're not going to be the last one. Like, we're barely even touching the top of like how bad some other countries are.
The colonists learned it from somewhere.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It's a little bit of a naive thing. I don't hold it against young people when they say that, but I'm like, you really don't know this world at all if you think that, like, this country's horrible because of what we've done. It's like, how do you think any of these countries got here? And how do you think they defended where they've been? And how do you think they keep doing it? Through horrific acts of violence and war and destruction and defense and offense. Like, and racism and keeping certain people out in certain religions. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's good. I'm just saying, like, this is what has been and has been going on for a long time.
Totally.
You know, I'm not saying it's
Just
good.
like
I'm just saying
we're back to politics.
Just saying, you can't escape it. What time is it?
Yeah, how long do you like to do these?
Forever. It's already 5.
Oh, wow. Right on.
Yeah, we're about almost at 2 hours.
Cool.
Yeah, close to. I think it's looking. The problem is we talked for a bit upstairs and then a bit down here. So there's probably like 20 minutes of podcast we didn't get talking about coffee.
That's true. One quick shout out, because you have video going, right?
Yeah, video.
So, like, I have been made a pretty incredible cold brew, homemade.
Homemade.
And you can taste the difference. And I know it's not even, like, your best, right? You said it needs to...
Those are the cheapest beans I get around. They're great beans, but they're not like... They're $15. They're not, again, like the $28 single origin, like Yirgacheffe region from Ethiopia, like that. There's very hyper-specific stuff. Wow. It's not like that. It's just a light roast blend. But... yeah, they're amazing cups of coffee. And shout out to, I call it the THR method. That's the abbreviation of my roommate who taught me it, that honed in on it for years.
Yeah.
I think he said it took him like 8 years to get down to like every single minute detail that now I just use whenever I want. So the THR method of cold brew, it's great. Yeah, and then if you let it sit in the fridge for about another day, it gets even better. Because it's fresh. I just finished making it. So it was still like getting cooled up. No.
As good as it is. I didn't even
You probably got like the A- of it. And by tomorrow or Saturday morning, it'll be like an A+.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hooked it up. I got some lovely tea. I got some cold brew. So I'm caffeinated, to say the least. I also have to pee now, so this is like...
perfect time to end then. Yeah, I'm surprised we went about 2 hours without peeing with the coffee and the water. And this was great. It was fun talking with you. I never really got a chance to talk with you much more than just a few things of, hi... what do you want to record?
Yeah.
Welcome. Where are you from?
Do you have a capo?
You have a capo. You have snark. I need to get sponsored by picks, capos, tuners, snarks.
Yeah.
How do people get sponsorships? I never understand that.
Well, I suppose if you're not like at 1 million subscribers where you're just flooded with people, yeah, it's like a little bit of the two-way communication of like, if you like a brand, might as well reach out to them.
I get a lot of fake ones. I get an insane amount of fake. I don't know if it's fake, but it doesn't seem real. It's just, we love what you do and this and that. We would love to partner with. I'm like, oh, and I just delete the email. I don't even like. This feels like I feel like I'm about to get a virus. Like,
yeah, totally.
It's official email and it's going to my official email, but it does. There's too many times people want me to be an influencer for them. Like, this doesn't seem.
And there's
real.
a skill in weeding them out too.
Yeah, usually when the font and the spacing is odd, I'm like out. Fishy already.
Totally.
When it has weird, like font spacing and stuff, you're like, this isn't right. Are you going to show me something you got, like a fake one you got?
Oh, no. I was just pulling up. I don't think I have I'm like getting sparse messages because I think I'm like in and out of service.
Oh, the service down here is non-existent. It's not. Whenever people are like, how do you record on here? How can no one hear you? And I go, want to know how? Because not even
nuclear bunker down
not even electromagnetic frequencies can get out of this basement. I swear to God, it's like a bunker. Like, so there are no windows exposed. Where there would be windows are like 2 feet of foam shoved into the window well.
Yeah.
And then it's drywall, the wooden studs, probably some insulation, then like another foot of old cinder block and concrete. So it's like 2 feet of wall. It's super thick, like to get in and out. And 3 layers, and a lot of that is thick, dense, old cinder block from 1890, 1900.
Wow.
Yeah, nothing's getting through here. And we're in a basement, and you put it all together, and there's no openings, and then there's 2 stories before you even get to my Wi-Fi.
Holy cow.
2 stories of wood.
Do you have the whole house?
It's 3 stories. It's technically an apartment, but it's 3 stories. It's like a half a house.
But it's all yours?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so basement, studio, first floor, which you saw, and then bedrooms and an office and stuff upstairs.
So cool, dude.
Yeah, I got really lucky. No one thought I could find another place, have cool neighbors, and record it where I live and pull it off again. And somehow I got lucky.
Somehow, dude.
Cool neighborhood,
That's
cool neighbors.
Karmic relief right there.
Yeah, I think all the hard work of appeasing everyone and keeping the peace paid off. Because, when you do it long enough, when you go to the next space and you share it with the adults in the room, aka your neighbors, but you have this like a decade plus of things to show for it, and like it's been working, no one's had a problem, they tend to go easier on you because they could see that you have a pat. Like they can just Google me and be like, oh, okay, like yeah, okay, he does okay. This it's not like he's just winging it and he's not serious and he's never had any problems. There's no complaints. There's no problems like that. You can't find anything bad. So that usually helps. If I was a nobody and I was 20 and I tried doing this, I'd think it wouldn't have lasted long.
Totally.
I also wouldn't have been able to do it. And
Timing's everything.
Timing's everything. But so you have some shows coming up. The show in August with which I don't know if you wanted to promote that one. That one's with you're playing guitar with Hotel Breakfast, right? So I guess that's a different show.
Oh yeah,
that's still pretty cool though.
Yeah, I have a lot of songs to learn, I think, but yeah, it's been fun to get to know those guys too. They're a very fun band, cool dudes. They still, I will say separately of like my other band Hollyy. We've kind of reached the age where I don't subscribe to this, but like us as a band, we used to go out all the time. We used to, Friday nights when we weren't doing anything musically, we were still together and we were hitting the streets of Logan or whatever, and like just doing things. We were going and seeing a show, or we were going to a bar. We just had like a very lively world, and then one by one the dominoes fell, and like. This member got married, or this member got married, or this member moved, slightly out of just like it closed off. And so what's fun, I will say about Motel Breakfast is those are dudes that are still out there having a blast.
Just having a good
so
time.
I think like I've latched onto them in the past year of just like, my band doesn't want to go out with me anymore, so I'll go out with you guys.
It gets exhausting. It's hard to just go out to parties and bars and shows and events every weekend or every week forever. Like,
true.
It gets hard.
Yeah.
Especially when you've been doing it a long time. You're like, well, I've been to that venue. Like, you just
it's
like,
hard
I've been
for
there.
some. Actually, that reminds me, I have one more thing to say, and that you had brought up Local H earlier. And I just have this funny...
Oh, you had a story about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've kind of heard of Local H, obviously, for a while. I never really even realized that I'd heard, oh my God, what is that? Born to the Floor? Yeah, exactly. So I've heard their big hit, and I like have known that they were a Chicago band. I always got them mixed up with Seventh Heaven, funny enough, so I thought they were a cover band forever.
I think I know the guys from Seventh Heaven.
Oh, right on.
Not the TV show.
They probably
although I used to love
do
that
some
TV
damage
show.
on the cover circuit, dude.
The most successful bands I know are cover bands.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I know thousands of bands. So take that at face value. What do you think that means?
What is it? Where's the money at? But so I have known of Local H, but I never really like even realized that I had heard a song or like I never seen them, never met them. And then one day I get tossed into this project that became my album that we've spoken about today. And one of the producers of the album is now a good friend of mine. His name's Blake Smith, and he kind of was. I didn't know what was going on at the time. I was just like, hey, let's I want to show you some songs. My friend Matt, who's like in charge of the label, he's like he's gonna hook me up with a producer that he knows, and that was Blake. And Blake was like, I love these songs. I'm gonna put some people behind it, and we're all gonna get into a studio. And then what I realize is the people that he's putting behind it are his friends, and one of them happens to be Scott Lucas from Local H, and he's a guitar player. And it's just this funny like mixture of musicians that ended up being the record that I've made. Because Scott did all like the lead guitar work for the record and a lot of like guitar production for it, and just like ethereal production of like he gets so into the weeds of like albums. That's his jam. It's just like how to the sequencing of the songs and like how the songs grow and cut and so I mean Scott's one of like my best friends now, and it's just like working with him is wild because I never thought that he just owns a space of music that I don't really get in, but he's introduced me to it, and I love it, and so it's funny to work with him.
Wow, small world.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So he's going to be playing with you, or just for the album?
So he was part of what I call the showcase band. So when I was going through the process of like getting these songs ready and doing the whole, song and dance for the label folks, he was my guitarist. So like, he played, but now I've got a different band going for live, so.
How many members for the live band?
5.
Guitar, bass, drums, vocals, keys?
Amazing.
It's like I've done this before.
That's exactly it, actually.
It is funny when you do something long enough and you just know. It's how I am with my students now. When they play songs, and afterwards I'm like giving a critique, I will, without even knowing how or doing it, I will just like tell them every single thing they didn't do, should have done, they did, like everything. They're like, that's exact, like everything, to the number, to the frequency, to the hertz, to the polarity. I mean, anything technical. They're like, yeah, that is. I'm like, I make fun of myself. I'm like, I've been doing this for too long. How do I know? Where did this come from? It just comes out of me. I'm like, oh, and then you did this. And they're always amazed. They're like, how? I'm like, it's just 20 years of doing this. You do this forever, and then you can't do anything else. You get really good at it. But you don't know it. You don't realize how good your ear is until someone tests it on you. And you're like, oh, I guess I do have a decent ear. I've been doing this for a while. But that's really cool that you got him in there and you got 5 people. And that's a solid band where it can allow you to not play something for a second and just sing. Right. Because 4 people can easily make enough noise.
Right, exactly.
And then you can focus on your singing. And it just gives you way more freedom to like switch instruments and put them on. Is that what you do?
We don't do too much instrument switching, but yeah, I love you. Yeah, you know that. Like you pick up moments where you don't have to feel like you have to rhythm
you
guitar
shut down
the
the
whole
guitar
time.
for a second because there already is 2 guitars. You know?
Right.
Yeah, that's nice. Whenever I see that happen for a band, the singer always gets much better because now they could just focus on that thing. You know?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
All
So that was
right.
my local age story. I had to share.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I know that stuff just keeps happening as we get older. You're in your 30s now. I'm 35, and I'd say at this point, like every 6 months, I'm always like, I can't believe I'm even acquaintances like this person that I now know. It could be anyone, even someone not that popular, but they just do really cool stuff. And you're like, I can't believe that's my buddy. Like,
Totally.
You know, you're like, what? When I was 18, I like listened to these people. And now, you know, it happens.
Yeah.
And it's been happening. I'm sure it's been happening to you more and more. And it's been happening to me more and more. And I like it because it helps you realize, oh, we're all just people. And
Absolutely.
the fame thing goes away when you're hanging out in the room with them for a while. And you're like, oh, it's just a person. And they're just trying to get by. And they want to be alive. And they want to be healthy. And they just want to enjoy life. Like that, it helps a lot. I think meeting important, famous, or wealthy folks can be good for people. Like, it helps to get rid of the lore and like this mystical thing.
Yeah.
I think it helps a lot.
It does. There's also the whole never meet your heroes, but like I agree. Like it does put such a just like human perspective into it of like, yeah, they're just normal.
There's people. Yeah. Cool. All right, Tanner. This was great. A lot of fun. We went a bunch of places. Hopefully we don't get you in trouble.
Yeah, I know.
We don't get in trouble.
Yeah, a lot of outing and the inside scoop on the executive level of the music industry these days.
We didn't even go far enough.
We sure didn't. And also,
I think it'd be dangerous. I'm not dangerous like for our lives. I think it could hurt you down the line.
no, totally. It's best to
I was
cap it
trying
where
not
I'm
to
at.
go too far. I can't help it because I'm not beholden to anyone. So
lucky
I
you.
love it. I just dig in everywhere I can. But I know for people on your side, there's only so far before I don't want to like ruin your life or something. But
Totally.
I want to see where they'll go. But
Yeah.
yeah, great stuff. I'm happy for you. These things are really cool. It's great to see you from 2008. Where were we here? Was it
Oh, I think we were
2017?
2022. So we were actually at the way.
Oh,
yeah.
Intimate Evening. Not Intimate Evening. When you played a session, that was 2018.
Yeah.
So the session was 2018.
And then we played
DZ
DZ
Fest.
Fest.
20. Yeah,
2022.
okay. But still, even 7 years just to see you from your overalls
Yeah.
to your cutoff sleeve
That's right. My Sting.
to your sting.
Sting cutoff.
That's a sick shirt. That's an OG shirt.
Yeah, I
can
love this
tell.
thing.
That shirt's from like 1990.
Absolutely.
How cool.
Yeah. I mean, I don't wear many, sleeveless shirts these days, but with Sting, I love this one. It's kind of cold out here.
It gets cold after
So
a bit, right?
interesting day to pick the sleeveless, but
The heat's
I toughed
off.
it out.
The heat's off because it's too noisy.
oh yeah.
If it was a normal spring day and 75 out, it wouldn't be bad down here. It's because it's 50 degrees out, so it's cold. But anyway, check out Holly. Check out Holly. Check out Tanner, Dane. Check out your music coming out, your label you're on, your tours, your shows, your Thalia Hall, December 19th, and everything else in between.
Yeah.
And support you, and thank you for doing this. And it's great to see you progress and grow, and 2 different music paths you're doing now. I mean, it's awesome.
Thank you, dude.
Congratulations.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Check out Tanner everywhere you can. All social media, Instagram, everything. It's all there. They'll find you.
Everywhere, even Red Note, dude.
Red
So,
Note. whatever that is. I don't even know what that means.
Really?
What's Red
Oh,
Note?
that was like one of the apps that people flocked to when TikTok was going away. It's like the
Oh.
Chinese TikTok kind of. Even
Is
though
it?
TikTok is sort of
Wait,
Chinese.
what? Isn't TikTok Chinese? What does it even mean?
I think it's technically Taiwanese, but
The Taiwanese TikTok.
yeah, Red Note.
Red Note.
I'll have to get you separate of this podcast. I'll have to show you Red Note. It's just like it's basically TikTok, but
Okay. Jesus, this world's so ridiculous. Catch us on Red Note, Blue Sky. Oh, God. All these colors. All right. Thank you, Tanner. This was great.
ciao. Bye.
Ciao.